Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds, and welcome to our first live chat of the year. At least I believe it is. I've done a few live chats with folks on their channels, so it's hard for me to remember. But I hope you all are having a great start to your January and your 2022. And wow, it has just been a crazy ride the last few weeks coming out of the Hive Life Conference, our second, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work too. Good to, yeah, he's alive. That's right, Chris. Good to see you, Castle Hives, as well. Hope you're doing good, Brian. Time is honey. Good to see you all. Brian Reese, hey, man. Hope you guys are doing good there in Jersey. So I'm just now, I took a couple of days off today, yesterday, and part of the day before. I had something planned right after the Hive Life conference, so I'm just kind of getting back into the groove of things. Wanted to do this live chat to reconnect with everybody and kind of let everyone know where things are going from here. We are going to get back to making a lot of videos, and I'm sorry we haven't been able to make near as many as we used to. Usually we do at least two a week, and it seems like we haven't done two in a week. It almost seems like for 4 months, but it took 4 months to put the conference on at least. And that was just on my end. If you count Laurel's time as well, many, many months of effort it took to put the conference on. And so I'd like to take a few moments early on to run through a couple things really quick, and then we're going to get into some beekeeping stuff and also some exciting information about who we're going to be having on our live chats and what we're going to be sharing, which is our experimental information and comparing that as well with some cool stuff going forward. So good to see many of you guys on here that were at the conference. It was wild, so wild. It was, you would think 2 days would be enough time, but it is not. It was insane. Totally a roller coaster ride for me the entire time, but better that than be bored, right? So many good friends. That was my only regret, was there were so many people I didn't get to really say more than just, hey, how are you doing? And then go. And so that's why I want to take this time with this live chat to take a couple seconds and say thanks to a couple people. And one, I'd like to say thanks to, I cannot remember the name. So you have to forgive me on a couple of these because literally it was just like they handed me a gift bag, and I saw the name at the time, and I can't remember now, so I apologize. But someone gave me this nice Tervis Alabama insulated flask. So, yes, that is always acceptable around here and cherished. I've also had someone else give me this Alabama tie. So, folks at church are going to be even more frustrated with me, which is impressive. Let's see what we also have. Some Hive Life. I got this at the Hive Life Alabama gear. That I think I was supposed to wear this at the Hive Life conference and I didn't. So next year the plan is to do that, and maybe anywhere else I go, this can be my lanyard and tick people off by the dozens. Now, congratulations to Georgia, by the way. Um, we didn't win a national championship this year, so we'll just have to try again next year. But it's all good. Great season again. That's all you can ask from your football team, is to be able to watch some good football. I also got another thing from them, Alabama related, and also a gift card to Target for Laurel, and she got you got a giggle out of that one. So congratulations. She was very excited. For those of you who got some of the creamed honey and came to our conference, Byron Ferris with Ferris Farms, mine is just set up. It looks like, oh yeah, that's perfect right in there. You can see a little bit of foam at the top, but that's soft right there. You can just kind of push your finger into it just a little bit. It's almost completely set up. Nice scoopable form. So for those of you who purchased that creamed honey, Byron wanted me to share with you that it should be about set up right now, as long as you didn't keep it in a really hot environment. Brian Reese, thanks again, buddy, for donating and making like everything that we do possible. We really appreciate you, and it was a pleasure seeing you at the Hive Life conference. Yeah, it's going to be fun, 2023. So, Brian was there at the first Hive Life conference. You've been out to Tennessee a couple times for other things as well. We did some beekeeping this year, and also, um, you've got to see how much that we've grown from 2021 to 2022, and we are already working very hard to make 2023 just insane. Got all this honey now on my finger. I'm going to have to take care of this. All right. Well, it's not as good as our honey, but it's passable. It's passable. That's good. Good job, Byron, if you're watching this. And it's not Brian Ferris. I like to call him Brian, though. It really irks him. Hey, Ethan. So the produce farmer is my brother, and this camera that I'm using for the live chat, he let me borrow and to see how I liked it. And what do you guys think of the camera? Is it clearer than what you usually experience through our live chats? Let me know. I also got some maple syrup, and this one's from Wayne and Anita Setter, and I love maple syrup. I also got some more maple syrup from another fella, and it was also from Wisconsin. However, um, our kids and us kind of already polished it off, so thank you very much. It was really good, and we're looking forward to trying this as well. I love maple syrup. And once I get through all this, I just have several people that I must thank. So many gifts. We got some creamed honey from Wells Pure Honey. I haven't tried it yet. Jefferson City, Tennessee. And that looks delicious. Laurel says the camera looks good, so it doesn't really matter what any of the rest of you think now, because Laurel says it's good, so that all that matters to me. Okay. Laurel says I do care what everybody else thinks, so I really am looking forward to seeing what you all have to say about the camera. Hey, Ethan, thank you so much for donating again to the channel. Hey, on my end, it looks more crisp than what I've ever experienced before. So I also got a jar from my buddy, Gus Mitchell from Crane Nest Honey. Ought to know his honey by now. I know Frederick Dunn got some of this right here. Small Town Honey from Buzzed in Minnesota, Sharon Koopman. And this is creamed in cinnamon, and I love cinnamon and honey. It is awesome. So I haven't tried it yet. Well, I haven't put it on toast or anything. I have taken a little bit out of the jar. And I'm going to have to brag just a little bit here because I've never actually had some blue ribbon honey that I'm aware of. And this took first place in our first ever honey show, and the extracted, the extra white, extra light category by Jeremy Lindsay. And I mean, look how clear that is. That is some pretty clear honey. He believes, and he's probably right, that it is primarily black locust. And that is some really light honey. And I've tried it. And black locust honey is good, don't get me wrong, but it really doesn't have a strong flavor. I prefer honeys as far as flavor wise, they have a little bit more stronger of a flavor. But as far as looking at it, and that is great. And it tastes good too, but it's just so light. You can put this on toast. If you were wanting something to like use as an ingredients for a recipe, black locust would be just about as good as it gets because it just doesn't impart a lot of flavors into the food, but gives you that sweet taste as well. So that's really nice. Got some Chicago honey right here from John Woo Shin, and good to see him again this year. He gave Laurel a really good giggle with the other label he had on the honey, but for political reasons, I'm not going to share, even though I totally do agree. It was doggone hilarious. Unfiltered and illogical, priceless. So right here, this is going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to doing some reading and research into this because it could be somewhat of an issue or a non-issue or maybe even a benefit depending on the situation. This comes from New Jersey. It's Columbia, New Jersey, Home Sweet Home, and there is a decent bit not only honey in here, but there's also some spotted lanternfly honeydew honey in here. And they say that actually creates somewhat of a flow for their bees, and in some areas a significant flow, where they actually makes a sizable amount. It's very amber looking honey, but it actually tastes all. I mean, it tastes like honey to me. I mean, it's good. I enjoyed it, and we have enjoyed this one a little bit too. Hell Hives, and we really appreciate them sponsoring um, some of our speakers this year, and also coming again this year. They always send delicious honey, and it's very good. Let's see where we're at right here. Oh, just a couple more. Got a couple more things right quick, and then we'll get to some other things. And if I miss something, I apologize, but I'm literally just going through some of the stuff from the conference today. Right here from Ohio, we had a lot of people from Ohio. This is Red Dog Ranch honey, and it is also very amber and also very good. I tried some earlier. And then we have some sourwood honey from Brian Fisher out of North Carolina. And I gotta say that it's really good. It is a really good sourwood honey. I mean, one of the things that really ticks me off, sourwood in my mind actually is a lot of times I hear it and I think negative thoughts because there's so much fraudulent sourwood honey sold in Tennessee. There is good sourwood honey produced in Tennessee, but especially when you go towards where we had the conference in Sevierville, the Smokies, there is just so much fraudulent sourwood. And it's because, unfortunately, the tourists that come in and the general public does not know how fraudulent honey really is. So this actually tastes like sourwood. It doesn't taste like Chinese honey or anything like that. Oh yeah, bring that here, and and it's really good. Good sourwood honey is good quality. Now I gotta share this right here. This was a gift from Johnny Tanner and his wife, who are both really special people, and it's kind of their thing to bring a round of cheese. And my son has destroyed this. I mean, his nickname is the Cheese Boy, and he cuts the cheese and eats the cheese. He does it. He does all that. He's 6 years old, and man, he loves that. I got to say a couple other things, which is a big thank you to the Happy Camper and to Kodak Farm. Thank you guys so much. If you're girls, I apologize. Thank you so much. And we had just a blast of the conference. We're going to have to change a lot of things up. I was hoping to make it a little bit more relaxed for Laurel and myself so we'd have more time to spend with you all. But I ended up just running around constantly, and I was doing what I loved, so it wasn't a big deal. But I also want to have more time for people, and I was thankful for what time I did get, and I was thankful so much for you all coming out. It went, I think, overall really well. We're already addressing one or two of the issues, which I'll get to in a second. And I want to say one more thank you to Curtis Guthrie out of Arkansas, who found me multiple times without me asking and just brought me a bottle of water multiple times and really saved my bacon because I never took time or really had time to go get anything to drink. And I also want to say thank you to Bonnie Joseph. I was out there in the crowd fielding questions for, I believe it was Rick Sutton in this particular situation. And I mean, I could hardly talk. My voice was so dry. And I've met Bonnie before. She's a Kentucky beekeeper. And I said, Bonnie, could I please have this bottle of water? It hadn't been opened. And she's like, oh, yeah, sure. And I owe her a bottle of water and then some. So that thank you very much. It's such a good bunch of people at the Hive Life Conference because it's made up of so many of you all. And um, occasionally we run into a bum or two, but it's very, very few and far between. The vendors had a great time. And because of you all support, whether it was on here, YouTube, at the conference, it has all created this huge community and culture. And it just has grown and expanded. And it's not stopping anytime soon. I'm not just talking about our conference. I'm talking about the online community. This only means good things. Great things for the future of innovation and product, creativity, research, information access for, much easier information access. And that's one of the things I'm going to jump into real quick. Just 1 second. How you like that right there? Yeah, Hive Life. Woo, yay. All right, so I'm going to say this, I think, correct. Cameron Jack. I always want to say Jack Cameron. But Cameron Jack is a PhD at the University of Florida. He's going to be coming on, and I will be revealing that date soon just because I don't have it ironed out yet. I just got an email from him. Sounds like it's going to be early in February. So keep a watch out for that. I will be announcing it on YouTube. I'll also be doing it on our Facebook group. And what's exciting about that is he knows a lot about oxalic acid research. And I have the oxalic acid information for the test yard ready to present. And he has done some similar, well, he's done not only similar research, but he's done more of it, and I'm sure better. So I'm really interested to see what he has to say with what I have and what we saw this year at the experimental yard. I'm excited to share that with you and also see maybe how his stacks up. And he talked to me about it just a little bit, and I was really excited. That's where I'm talking about getting this community going and getting access to information faster, because he's really on the front lines of the research of oxalic acid. And also, if what he's not doing, he has access to researchers who do have access to that. So I think we'll learn a lot about oxalic acid during those talks and ways that we can use it more efficiently. Spoiler alert, we may need to use it a little bit more. And, we've heard that a little bit, but maybe even more. So let's look at some of the questions here. I have not had a chance to hardly read any of them. Hey, Lindsay Homestead Farm. So yeah, Jeremy Lindsay, he's the one that has this blue ribbon honey right here. Awesome stuff. I mean, just look how clear that is. You can see those awesome stars on that American flag right there, right through that honey. That's pretty slick. And I appreciate that very much. The honey show, we are going to upgrade it in a big way. We're looking at even going into breads and possibly desserts or candies. Maybe not that extreme, but we're going to add creamed honey. We're going to add some desserts and breads at least into that category. And people got to keep in mind that there's no way you can perfectly judge when it's based on taste, because some people like really dark and strong honey and some people hate that. So there's in the taste categories, there's always a certain degree of the personal preference, but we're planning to have more taste testing judges to kind of get a better broad picture of what people like. But it'll still be a lot of fun. More importantly, people will be exposed to more ways of using honey. Honey definitely needs to be used more in the kitchen. So we're going to have more things like that, more categories, another beeswax category or two. If you have any suggestions, that would be awesome. You can definitely email me at the Hivelifeconference@gmail.com. I will try to get to them. I'm about 2 weeks backed up on emails right now. FYI, that doesn't mean I won't read them, but unless it's situation critical, a lot of times I don't get to them very fast. Let's see. So I want to say also, you can go to hivelifeconference.com. So we have that website. It has a certain degree of information available. We will be releasing a lot more information coming up soon. A lot of the people who sponsored, what you can look forward to. The date is the first weekend in January again, the first Friday and Saturday, same location in Sevierville. We are looking into another venue or two and seeing if we can do better somewhere else, but we'll be renting the entire Sevierville Convention Center, which is massive. I'm not 100% sure how many people we will have show up, but based upon projections and talking to a lot of different people, I feel very confident we're looking somewhere around the 1,100 to 1,300 range next year. So we will have to see how that goes. We're also, a lot of people have been asking about speaker situation. We'll be doubling speakers. And some people don't like that because, well, I'm going to miss something. But we're not planning on putting, like Bob Benny over here versus Ian Stepler at the same time. What we're going to do is have, like, say, Ian Stepler talking single brood hive management. And then over in the other room, we may have a class on fairly intermediate type beekeeping, something in that category, and maybe even some fairly juvenile beginner classes to help people that are brand new. So we're not looking to have two heavily competing topics of what you're wanting. And there'll be some crossover, and that's just unavoidable. But at the same time, there were several things this year we wanted to talk about, but we couldn't get to. We also want to be able to have more speakers. And especially as we want to, as this conference grows, there are beekeepers. The biggest complaint I get as far as that goes is we don't really cater much to new beekeepers. And I get it. Our primary focus will always be the hardcore beekeepers like yourself. And you don't have to have 50 hives to be hardcore. You can have 5 hives, you can be hardcore. 3 hives, you can be hardcore. But the dedicated long-term beekeepers is our aim primarily. Someone keeps texting me. Oh, that's one of the helpers at the conference. Yeah, and I think it'll be beneficial to have that diversity. Some people are like, well, why do you want to grow it to this so much amount? It's not necessarily just the numbers. It's also what we can offer people. The more people we have come, the more that we can get better vendors, the more that we can afford to get more speakers and more personalities and have more cool things for everyone to see. And so it is definitely a driver is to have a lot of people in attendance so we can afford to maybe get speakers from overseas, eventually, and fly them in. We want to be able to get the best men and women who are either researchers or beekeepers that are going to be able to help us out the most. In order to do that, sometimes you really got to shell out some dough. You also have to have a conference that they want to come to. Same goes for the vendors. I think a lot of you who came this year enjoyed the vendors that we had. We had definitely had a different vendor approach than we did the year before. And that was by design and also very different from what a lot of other conferences do. Now that we've had a good bit of success with that, it will enable us to have more vendors, better vendors, and be very enticing. This year, we had to work so hard to get the vendors. We're like, please just give us a chance, please. We annoyed some of them so much. It was unbelievable. And so many of you annoyed them. So thank you. The squeaky wheel definitely gets the grease, and it worked. Some of our best vendors, it took like 4 or 5 shots to get them to show up, and they eventually did. So that was interesting to see. And of course, all we needed for them to do is come out and see all of us, because we knew if they came out, they would see this as the most hardcore group of beekeepers on the continent and possibly in the world. I mean, it's pretty hardcore and lots of energy. It's not boring like your average conference. Kamon, you should come out on stage with a bee beer during your entire presentation. I don't think I can do that in January, Shane. Those bees would not appreciate that very much, but it's something to consider. I'll write that on the list of things to try to accomplish next year for sure. That'd be interesting. Hey, Castle Hives, good to see you, Brian. Thanks for coming out to the conference and also for supporting us here multiple times. Appreciate you, man, and good to see you sometimes on your lives. Yasmin, thank you so much. I know you wanted to be here, but you couldn't make it from Sweden. It's a long flight, and I know that right now things are tricky, but we're just going to keep getting the conference better for you. So one day when you can get over here, it's just going to be the best thing ever. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. So Raised in Hells, howdy from Louisiana. Glad to see you're back and bold. Got a little bit of energy now. How much did we raise for next year's youth scholarship to the Hive Life Conference? So again, thank you to you all for being a part of that. And I got some of your honey here and some other things as well from you also. Thank you. We are at $6,400 that was raised for youth scholarship. That's awesome. That's an awesome start. My goal is around $15,000. So we're over a third of the way there. And what that's going to be used for those of you who don't know, is for young men and women, college age on down. And we're going to be releasing that soon. There's a lot of things we got to release at the Hive Life Conference website, but kids, young adults will be able to go in there and submit information. We're probably going to ask for a small YouTube video, because if I can do a YouTube video, surely people younger than me can do a YouTube video. And scholarships, sponsorships. Okay, sponsorships. Sorry, Laurel. Got to get my verbiage right. But they're going to have to go through that process, and it's going to be, a little bit rigid, because you can't just be a new beekeeper and be young and get in. We're wanting beekeepers that are already active, young. Who are the up and comers that need a little bit of a boost to keep them going? That's who we're wanting. We want hardcore, and the type of people that even if they didn't make it to our conference, they're still going to beekeep anyways, no matter what their age is. So that's who we're looking for. So we want to see, and it's going to be competitive, you know. So if we get 100 people enter and we can get 50 spots, then obviously there'll only be 50 if that's on the budget that we have, and it's going to cover the hotel, it's going to cover the ticket and their food. So the only thing they'll have to worry about is getting themselves out here, and it also covers their guardian if they're underage where they can't drive themselves and all that. So it'll cover their guardian as well. So I think that's why it's going to cost so much. Is we're accounting for several guardians, you know, hotels, meals for 2 people, all that jazz. But I think it's definitely going to be a total worthwhile investment. And imagine a conference. We already have a bunch of young people at our conference. We had a good group this year, but imagine having a lot more young people involved. What is that going to do? It's only going to be good things. Yeah, exactly. Those that are like Natalie and Darian Sharp, and I was good to see both of them there. Darian Sharp is a young man who we sponsored this year, totally worthy, and he's got a YouTube channel, The Backward Beekeeper, and it was great to meet him for the first time. Have Michael Palmer versus Ian Stepler duel live on stage. I've talked to Michael. If things clear up, he actually might come. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how comfortable he gets with the situation in the country. But I've been annoying him to death about coming to our conference, and he would be a lot of fun. I would love to meet Michael Palmer. Now, I want to say a couple things again, really quick, and we can get to some more beekeeping things and kind of like the future of what we're going to be doing this year, because this year is going to bring a lot of change. Obviously, we've grown a lot over the last few years, but we're going to try to dial it in a little bit more. We definitely need to. You know, the beginning of 2022 is actually when I quit my part-time job, partially because they took my benefits away from me, even though when I signed on, even if we worked part-time, we were supposed to be able to keep our benefits, but a new company purchased the one I worked for, so that was gone. So I'm like, well, if there's no benefits, then I'm quitting. So it was definitely a big transition this year. What? Holy smokes. Really? Wow, that Target gift card for Laurel, she just looked it up, and that was a $100 gift card for Laurel to go to Target. So I guess someone's going to be taking a trip to Target soon. So thank you so much. Wow, Laurel is, hey, settle down now. People will think that you're not as shy as you really are. she's yelling on the inside. She loves Target. Okay, where was I? Laurel's happy. I'm happy. Now it's me giggling. Ooh, that's weird. All right. I've totally lost my train of thought. Laurel, stay out of the room. Okay. I can't remember anything. My mind's totally gone blank. Speakers for next year. Send us your suggestions for speakers. That's what it was. I was going to thank some people, Laurel. You interrupted me thanking the little people. They're all bigger than me. All right. So I want to say a huge thank you to our staff. They did awesome. Our 2 conference supervisors were Andrea Porter and Josh Voorhees. Andrea really took care of the silent auction, which is where most of the money was raised for the scholarship or sponsorship for kids. Can't ever get that one right. And she also headed up the honey show with Diana Pace, and they did a really good job for our first year on our honey show. I was really nervous, and they did a great job. And now we've all learned a bunch. But she just aced the silent auction and the honey show. Was really thankful for Andrea to volunteer to do that. Completely volunteer work, a lot of work. And then Josh Voorhees, who's a buddy of mine. He's not a beekeeper, but he's really good with organizing, very trustworthy, and just helped Laurel and I manage so many other things. and run our booth. And I apologize to so many of you because we didn't know how much stuff to bring. We didn't bring a ton of merchandise. I had no clue, and we had never done anything like that before. So we definitely didn't have enough. So a lot of people wanted some and weren't able to get it. Next year we will do a lot better, and we may have some of that available on the Hive Life Conference. Maybe, I don't know. So DP is saying beekeeping like a girl will be taller than you next year. I don't know if it'll be next year, but it'll happen at some point. I have no doubt. At this point in my life, I'm used to people being taller than me. So, whatever. There's so many companies in here that are posting as well. Definitely. Thank you so much to the vendors. They came out, most of them came out and showed off and just had crazy awesome booths. So people were able to see so many things, but also get a lot of discounts. Even saving on shipping was a big deal. I had so many people report hundreds of dollars of savings on products between the percentage off and the shipping that they were able to save. Obviously, the conference isn't free, so you have to balance that out. But we're hoping as much as possible to offset costs for people who can drive and pick up material they were going to anyways. And it's just going to be more of it next year. So I'm hoping people long term are going to kind of plan that the Hive Life Conference is a place where I can kind of plan if I need gear for the next year, get it now, go ahead and save some money on it and come out to the conference, learn some things, hang out with your bee buddies. One thing that's going to be nicer next year is the vendors are going to be in a room all to themselves, and that will cut down on some of the noise that was an issue this year. Also, it'll make it to where it's, if you're wanting to get out there and shop and be loud or chat with your buddies in that room, even during a lecture, that's totally cool. I don't care. We're also going to have some other vendor demonstrations next year because we're going to have more space for it and just a lot more stuff vendor related. But the vendors really killed it this year, except Man Lake. They killed it, but in the wrong type of way. Speaking of which, there's been a couple people who purchased Mite Away quick strips from Man Lake, and they are expired. So if you purchased any of those from Man Lake, there's a good chance they were expired. And Man Lake was supposed to have pallets of Ultra Bee, and not only in dry, but in pollen sub form. Did anybody see any pallets of Ultra Bee stacked up, easily available for anybody at the conference? I'm curious if I was just so busy that I didn't see it. All right. Yeah, Jamie Ellis, I actually reached out to him about coming to our conference this year, as far as this last conference, but he was already committed to the ABF conference in Vegas. So that is one trick. It's a frustrating situation. I'm not purposely going head to head with the ABF. It is so hard to find large venues. Very hard to find large venues that are close enough to an airport. I'm not at the point where I'm wanting to do a conference out of state. So currently we're just looking in Tennessee, and a lot of people really like the Smokies for good reason. I can't tell you how many couples, the spouses love being in the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge region. We are looking at a couple other conferences down in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. The issue is cost. Parking is an issue, but there is a couple options that we are looking into. Realistically, probably nothing changing with venue until 2024, but we are constantly looking at ways to innovate. Indianapolis, that's going the wrong direction, Shane. That's going north. There was some global patties, and there will be more of that next year. Yeah, there was supposed to be quite a bit of extra Ultra Bee bags of dry and bags of patties. That was actually one of the deals that I brokered with Man Lake to get that spot right inside the door. I know they had some weather issues, but gosh darn it. They were one of the closest vendors to the venue. Let's see if I can get that out. I'm so frustrated. They're in Kentucky. We had vendors from Canada, California, all the Carolinas, Alabama. I mean, we had vendors from all over the place, and literally one of the closest and the one that has the most money tripped all over themselves. It was embarrassing, and I hate to say it. Just I don't care about hurting Man Lake's feelings. I do like several of the people that work there at Kelly's very much, but it was embarrassing. And one of the reasons we had them was to have great pricing for Ultra B and have that available for anybody who saw a stack of it. They could get the best price. It was $30 off a bag, $30 off a 40-pound box of pre-made patties. And I didn't talk to anybody who just saw that for sale there that just bought it. But they had some pre-orders, but that was it. And it's an issue that will be addressed in the future. And also makes me very reluctant to do business. So getting to some more people to thank that I almost forgot to get to. So again, Josh Voorhees, Andrea Porter, conference supervisors. I want to say a big thank you to Chris and Dawn Summers, who are Natalie's parents. They did a great job helping them with check-in and multiple other things. I'm setting up. Chris Summers, Natalie's dad, I made fun of him in one of the interviews that I did, and I actually thank quite a bit of Chris because he's got 3 daughters, and that's a lot of work right there. I hope Natalie's watching this. I can't imagine, Chris. You've constantly been in my thoughts and prayers. I only have 1 daughter, and all of his are teenagers right now. Poor Chris. And Don. Poor Chris and Don. So I'd like to say thank you to Chris Medeiros, who is our website guy. He's done the Hive Life Conference stuff. He also was the one who got the logo for me. Put it together, worked on several things for the conference. So he's been helping out a ton and also helped with check-in, did an awesome job. So big thank you to him. Huge thank you to Jeremy Lindsay, who helped Laurel and Josh run the merch booth and several other things here and there. And just Laurel really, really appreciated that a lot. And when Laurel appreciates something, I appreciate something. So thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate that, man. And then, of course, Gus Mitchell, Billy Joe Adair, both of them down over towards Memphis area, part of the state. Huge thank you to the Columbia Beekeepers. So many of them helped us out with that. Dick Brickner, Byron Ferris, Jody, and oh goodness, Barry, and Nita Brickner. So many of all from that area. They're great friends of mine in and out of beekeeping, and they were a big help. I'm sure I'm going to miss a person or two, but so many people. Nathan Coleman helped with the honey show. That's right. So a lot of people to thank. If I missed your name, I apologize. There was so much going on, and next year we're going to have a lot more help. I know I've had a lot of people volunteer. We will definitely look into some of that, but we're going to have an insane line of communication next year if we have the entire conference building with 3 large rooms to manage and make sure we have double the speakers all taken care of. We're working on getting drinks taken care of. That was one of the huge issues. I want to address that one more time. So the first year we had unlimited drinks. We were allowed to do whatever the heck we wanted. I had coolers of soda. We had tea, sweet tea, unsweet tea. We had coffee, almost unlimited amounts of it for everybody. And I loved that. And of course, everybody else did too. And we totally could have done that this year if the venue would have allowed us to. They will not, and they charge $3 a cup of coffee. Now, they charged even more for some of the other beverages. So it's insane. And I calculated it up. If we had unlimited, I don't even know what that would be. But if we just did like 3 a day, it was pushing upwards of $20,000. It's just highway robbery is what it is. But they're the only ones that will cater to the venue. However, they had some big issues this year with the food service on the first day. The second day was all right. And we're taking to the woodshed verbally. And thankfully, we're working with them a little bit. I don't know how much we'll be able to do, but that's a main reason why we're trying to get out of this venue is over catering. I think I love this venue in a lot of other ways. Vendors love the loading and unloading. The loading and unloading was awesome. but it was the catering is a disaster. Hey Jose, so many of you guys on here. Good to see you. I'm so glad you were able to come out from California, and it was good to meet you. That was so fun. I didn't hardly have any time to sit down with anybody like I wanted to, but I definitely was able to meet a lot of the YouTubers. We had so many YouTubers there. The Sideline Beekeeper, Craig Branch. I saw your video on our conference. So many videos. Yeah, $3 for like a cup of water. It's insane. Fairgrounds in Kentucky. Uh, They had like 10 inches of snow in Kentucky. We actually didn't have that much snow in Sevierville. That's the thing. People had snow issues getting to it, and I hated that. But so many people went ahead and went through it anyways. And what turned 5-hour drives into 9-hour drives and 16-hour drives into 20-something-hour events. It was people still showed up for it. I was really kind of worried a lot of people would not show up because you just don't know. And man, what a crowd we had! It was insane. But Kentucky, again, is kind of going in the wrong direction. Not that we wouldn't consider Kentucky, but Kentucky is it's kind of like the redheaded stepchild. We really don't want to fool with our Kentucky cousins anymore. We have to. You're still waiting in line with Randy for food. That was, yeah, the first day. Ooh. Yeah, so I've reached out to Chris Warner, and borrowing something drastic changing, Chris Warner from Indian Summer Farms is one of our keynote speakers for 2023, and he will be awesome. I like Chris as a person, and he's a killer beekeeper too. And Bob thinks he's an amazing beekeeper. So do you really need to ask anything else after that? 13-hour drive, but well worth it. Jamie, we really appreciate you coming. That's a long drive. Hmm. Yeah, Chris Warner is a cool guy. So as far as speakers for next year, we want to get a balance. It's going to be tricky. We're going to have some of the guys that we had this year, some of them we won't. And we're looking the number one thing we're looking for is what's going to be the most useful, what's going to be the most helpful to the most amount of people. And also they have to be able to communicate that well. I was really impressed with David Peck this year. He filled in last minute for Ian Stepler. And when you literally have just like 3 or 4 days to figure something out, usually you just get what you get. And David was coming down with the Better Bee booth, one of the companies that we had a really hard time getting to come. They'll be back next year. And David just stepped in. He's a great speaker. He's a smart guy too, and I just like him off the stage as well. That's one of the things that I just love looking for people that are great off the stage, and he's awesome off the stage, and so were all of our speakers. I thought Rick Sutton did a good job, especially being our honey judge as well, which we're going to have to get him some help next year. Him and Richard Brickner because it's going to be expanding quite a bit, more people coming, more entries, all that stuff. And there's a lot of people. I mean, we're not talking like one or two. I'm getting tons of emails from the United Kingdom, some from New Zealand even, and Australia. And if their governments will open things up and allow them to come over, and Sweden and other countries as well. A lot of Canadians. We're going to have a lot of people from overseas coming, or up north in the cold frontier of Canada. And Ian will hopefully bring them down. Ian says third time's the charm, so hopefully so. And they'll be bringing their honeys hopefully to show for the honey show. That would be really cool. It would be really neat. And I'm hoping that you all, any cool company, even if it's off the wall, start emailing them. Say, hey, get in communication with Kamon Reynolds. He wants to talk to you about the Hive Life Conference, because if they're a cool vendor, we want to have them. If it's a neat bee product, even if it's just something that they're not really selling, maybe it's just for display. A couple of you may have seen a couple booths this year. One of them was Shabu Rajas, another beekeeper from the Columbia, Tennessee area, and he does artificial insemination. He was in a video with Bob Benny, and Shabu does a great job with AIing queens down there, and he had a wonderful display. And that was something, we did not charge for that. We were actually excited that he came and wanted to show people anyone who was curious how AI works and to talk to them about that. That's what I'm looking for as well. Not just vendors who are selling product. We do charge vendors, and I think it's a very reasonable price. Vendors did very well this year. And that's fine. We want them to bring their stuff, show off the big stuff. We had so many cool companies that brought extractors, Dogwood Ridge, Hilco. There were so many extractors there. Crazy again how Dayton and Man Lake didn't have it. Oh wait, Dayton didn't show up again. But neither one of them had extractors at the conference. Crazy times we live in. And here's something hilarious. I laughed so hard. Dayton called me Thursday, the day before the conference, on Friday, after not hearing from them for months and then backing out with over $15,000 in pre-orders. And the big wigs at Dayton said, "Hey, we decided that if we can get this in last minute, we're going to be a vendor down at the Hive Life Conference if they'll let us." Who does that? Backs out after all those pre-orders, and then the day before sees if they can squeak in. That's embarrassing. Definitely not what you would expect from the number 2 company in the country and the oldest one in the country. They really need to get some things figured out. But yes, if you guys can figure out anything that's just neat, it's educational, it's cool, and even if they're not selling anything, then we'd like to have that kind of stuff on display. Byron Ferris had that creamer going, that licensed 36-gallon creamer, and was making all this awesome creamed honey, and people were able to see how that machine worked live. Where do you go and see that kind of stuff? Not a whole lot of places. And we want that, and we want more in the future. This is going to be the one-stop place to see all things beekeeping, but we need your help. And that's how we were able to grow so fast, is because we had so much help and so many fresh ideas. So if you have any great ideas on people that could even just show cool stuff, even if they're not vendors, let them all know. And if they bring something valuable to the beekeeping community, we're going to get them there. There was a lady that was painting with beeswax in the past that we were looking into and possibly have her in the future. And she uses dyes and beeswax to paint really textured art. I'm not an art guy. I definitely am not going to take up beeswax painting anytime soon. But it would be kind of neat to see that. And if she'll come and set that up and demonstrate it, I would be fascinated to see it. Those are the kind of things with beekeeping that we want to see more of. And you just never know what that may inspire or do. Yeah, well, and that's Eric Gunter said it just goes to show that we need to support the small vendors even more. We've got to. I'm telling you, these young guys and these young companies and smaller companies, it's just like when a old forest burns off and you get all this young growth. It's actually better in a lot of ways. The old trees just stifle out, fresh growth and multiple varieties, and you end up with fewer varieties of trees. And there's not. It's maybe not the best analogy in the world, but these smaller and younger companies are vicious. They will do whatever they can to earn your business. And I love the fact that they're all sitting right there in one place, and you can go over and look at a box of this company, walk over here and look at a box of this company and go, this company does it better than that company, all in just a couple minutes. And the more that these tenacious companies receive support from us financially, as far as just buying their product from them, the more they're going to be able to be creative and get us better products. There's a lot of products that we don't have available, we should have available. And I don't know how many times I've spoke at little conferences or bee clubs, and they'll have a vendor or two, and it'll be Dayton and Man Lake there. And best case scenario, there's like a 2-frame extractor or 3-frame extractor, whatever. And it's embarrassing. Are we excited about beekeeping or what? I'm excited about it, but it doesn't seem like the big companies are very excited about beekeeping. So they can stay home because we're excited. One thing I also wanted to say, for those of you who weren't at the conference or were there, but you need more supplies, do it now. As you've seen the last couple of years, there's been a lot of supply shortages. So I'm just trying to give you all a heads up. If you need stuff, don't wait around. It's going to be crazy in March and April and May and June. There's just going to be shortages. It's going to be slow to get product. If you need anything, you know it, go ahead and get on the ball and get that done. A lot of you were able to get stuff at the conference, but yes, it's going to be, Man Lake's already saying it's going to be one of those years. They've had one of those years for several years. Um, anyways. Oh, Malcolm, you got one of the hot knives from Pierce. Awesome. Let me know what you think of that, buddy. Yeah, Data, Man Lake, they both use their name to carry power on prices, and all they care about, right? See how this has worked so well for them is because we haven't been very well informed. And I'm not just talking about my channel, but just informing one another. But we're so well connected now, such a large group of us, that a lot of companies that many people have never heard of are now being known. And that's important because before all that information was out there, most people never heard of Dogwood Ridge Bees or Hilco or Laura Bee Vaporizer. Some of these companies are really new, but then you have Bees Needs, and then you have Western Alabama Bee Supply, and you had several other companies there. Miller Bee Supply. I didn't realize this until the conference. Miller Bee Supply makes their own frames. They make not only their boxes, they make their own frames there in the Carolinas. So I think that's awesome. They're a small company that focuses on quality, and the little guys have to focus on quality because a couple bad slip ups and they get some bad publicity, and they can go out of business a lot easier. Man Lake and Dayton have relied heavily on being in the American Bee Journal, the Bee Culture magazine, anything beekeeping, they're involved in it. So that advertising, and they're just 100% focused on online sales and shipping stuff. Ship, ship, ship. So they're not really as heavily invested into supporting your bee clubs and conferences. So any of you all that have state organizational bee clubs and stuff, maybe look at the list of vendors that we had. Some of these smaller vendors will actually do more for your organization as far as bring cool stuff than the big guys will. I've been so shocked going to, like, when I went to Iowa, Man Lake and Dayton had such pathetic looking booths. I don't even know why they bothered. They were selling non-bee related stuff mostly, and it wasn't I didn't think it was very good at all. Yeah, Man Lake was selling expired Mite Away quick strips. So again, if anybody got any Mite Away quick strips from Man Lake, or even if you ordered some, check and see if those are expired. I have seen that some people say that you can use them after they're expired, but I still wouldn't put up with that. I would still, contact the company. They're not supposed to sell you expired product. And do you want to take the chance that maybe the formic acid has come away from the carrier a little bit and then could off gas your bees too fast and cause damage? Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but Man Lake's not supposed to be selling expired max. Surveys will be on the website soon, so folks can do that. Again, I've been very preoccupied. Unfortunately, I had a conference right after the conference, and it took up 6 days of my time. So I got back home. I didn't even have really a full 24 hours, and then I was back out for another 6.5 days. And then with some family stuff that just trying to get back into the we took a day or two off from work, and we're just now starting to get back into things. So my January has been a little interesting, but yes, we're going to totally have that available. Just keep an eye out on the Hive Life Conference website because there will be some adjustments made there. Chris Medeiros, I think, is still on here, so he needs to definitely, get your butt in high gear, Chris. Chris has always done great work. But yeah, we're going to be working on that, so you guys can send in, hey, this is what I liked, this is what I did not like, and this is something that I'd like to see in the future. We didn't have a perfect conference, but we definitely have learned a lot already. We know a lot of what we need to change, and the sound was an issue. especially with some of the more soft-spoken speakers. And part of the problem was also having the vendors in the same room. So there's a lot of background noise for people in the back. The ones that up towards the front, I didn't have anyone ever complain that they couldn't hear me. Then again, I've never had anybody complain that they weren't able to hear me. So next year, though, the speakers will be in a quiet room with no background interference. I've already talked to the folks doing the speakers. We are going to pay them more, and they are going to buy some speakers, because I thought that they did a wonderful job for us. They just need some more firepower. So we're going to get some speakers all the way out to the back next year. So everyone, I basically told them if it needs to be too loud. I want to hear some complaints about people saying that the sound is too loud, and then we can turn it down a little bit. That's what I want. Yeah, I actually have talked to someone today about giving Bob 2 mics. I've told Bob many times about, basically if the mic isn't touching your whiskers, it's not close enough. And, what do you do? Good question. So Johnny Blaylock, when will the video of the conference be available? It should be available sometime in February. The guy is editing it right now. I'm waiting on a thing or two in regards to that, but he told me that he believes it should be mid-February. So I'm going to say 1st of March, something like that. Maybe we can get it done before then. The biggest trick then will be looking into how to get that product from point A to point B. We're looking at maybe an online copy or maybe a DVD, but obviously the DVD will cost more for us to make. And then also we have to manually ship those out. So we're looking into that right now. That will be all the lectures. It'll be some video footage of the vendors as well, some behind the scenes stuff. And the Bluegrass show will actually be available on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to make that available to where anybody who wants to listen to the whole Bluegrass show, once I get that from the recording guy, I'm just going to make that available. So if you guys want to have a little bit of entertainment, that was a lot of fun to play. It had been a long time since I played a show. And let's see, it had been since 7 or 8 years. So it had been a while. I was a little rusty, and the guys put up with me. They kind of had to. Yeah, go ahead and post a link, Tim, is Honey. Sometimes the thing doesn't allow them to post, so I'll see if I can spot it. Kamon, have you thought about setting up a workshop a day earlier for people who want to learn and see different beekeeping things? We actually were talking about that the other day. It adds a whole new wrinkle to everything to have it another day in advance. It's not that we're opposed to that. There are conferences that go 3 or 4 days. However, we're just not sure if we're at that point yet. Also, how much it costs to rent a room for a day. We're having to, have to weigh that in the balance to how many people would even be interested in that, and if that even offsets. And then, of course, we're going to have to look into making sure we have enough personnel. Just, it's a whole nother dynamic. I'm not saying that we're not interested, because I have a lot of people that have talked about maybe starting Thursday, at least a half day Thursday, but then the vendors have to get there earlier. And it's just, there's a lot of things to consider. However, that is something we are considering. And I think long term, there'll be a lot of changes for sure. Again, we've only been conferencing for less than a year and a half. As far as when we first came up with this idea to start doing a conference thing. So we're still very new. I think we're, for our little experience that we have, we're doing all right, but we definitely are looking to grow in every way that we possibly can. Fritters for all. How about a vendor / manufacturer of honey bottles? That's a good point, Shreve. We actually have talked to a couple vendors about coming this last year. None of them did come. However, I think some of them may come this year. But if you have any suggestions on a company that would come and bring bottles for honey, I think that would be great. I think that would be really well received. Fairhope, Alabama. Hey, hey, I've got some family in Fairhope. Roll Tide. What about any new products to help our bees from these in-hive pests? That's one thing that I haven't heard a lot of innovation coming out for new products for killing varroa mites, other than, like a vaporizer adaptation. I have not heard of anything new coming onto the market, which is a bummer. I hope that part of the movement that we have created and the energy is going to inspire somebody to create a better product. We definitely need another good product or two. Yeah, no wax molds were for sale there for candles. Curious about donations to the Bluegrass Band. Well, the fellas, I definitely could send something their way. I hadn't thought about that. Or are you asking if, people did donate there at the place? And the fellows were very thankful for the very generous donations for the tips. We also did pay them a flat rate to come out, and I put them in a hotel for a night. So for bluegrass musicians, they felt like they actually were rock stars for a change. But if anyone wants to donate to the bluegrass musicians, just send something on PayPal, and I will make sure that we get it to those guys. I thought they did really good for us. The banjo player had to fill in. I had two guys back out on me a week before the conference. Two guys I really thought I could count on. One of them had a good excuse, the other one did not. But this banjo guy, I met him 15 minutes before we went on and played that set, and he did a good job. Hmm. Yeah, the bluegrass was a lot of fun though. A lot of people seemed to enjoy it. Thanks everyone for coming out afterwards. So please get your box dipping wax supplier there next year. Well, he had 600 boxes, but they were all pre-sold, and next year we will have a lot more of them. So Appalachian Hivery will have, according to what he told me, basically as many as people pre-order, and then he'll have a lot extra as well, a good bit extra. So I would dare say there'll be access to around 2,000 wax dipped boxes at the conference next year, mediums and deeps, and they're wax dipped fully. They're assembled and wax dipped, which is really helpful because whenever you put a staple or a nail or a screw into a wax dip box, that can expose some wood. So these are assembled, they're glued as well, and then they are dipped for 15 minutes at a temperature of over 260 degrees. We're looking into having a few things like that, Brian. Wax. I mentioned to him about having some bottom boards and some lids and just having the whole 9 yards because a lot of people would want that. So David Hansberry says, just FYI, we saved $438 on Premier Foundations. And other people save some money here and there. I was hoping for Billy Strings, but you guys were fine. Well, thanks. Thank you for that. Billy, he's a little bit outside of our budget range right now. All right, kind of scrolling through some of the questions here. So, Ian, you're testing a new product up there for Varroa. Is that what you're saying? So, if so, that's awesome. And if you need help testing down here, I don't have time for it, but maybe somebody else does. Which reminds me, on the experimental yard, I mentioned this earlier. That will be, now that I'm done with the conference, that took 4 months of my time. I have the oxalic acid information collected. It's not that we don't have it, it's just that getting it onto a spreadsheet. Like right now, this was the alcohol wash, bee count, mite count, before treatment, then after the treatment, the alcohol wash, afterwards, bee count and mite count. But then now I've got that, and I've got to do the percentages between the two and how big of a reduction it was, and then do the averages. But we're getting there. and also have that in a form that everyone hopefully can understand by reading. They'll be, of course, publicly made available. And I'm going to have Cameron Jack, who is a whiz when it comes to oxalic acid research. I was talking with him on the phone. I'll be interviewing him in the next couple of weeks. Be looking out for that. That'll be an awesome talk. I'm just so looking forward to it. He also did a test with oxalic acid vapor where the queens were caged, so it's completely broodless, and then oxalic acid vapor, just like we did. And he's sounding like he's going to share their data, and I can share mine as well, and we can kind of see any maybe similarities, and hopefully I'll learn a thing or two, because that was a big learning curve this year, huge learning curve this year. And after talking with him on the phone, I cannot wait for that talk. So that's going to be fun. Again, just say real quick, we raised $6,400 for kids sponsorships for next year's conference, and we will be continuing to taking the funds for that all throughout the year. Several companies donated quite a bit, and several individuals to our silent auction. So thank you so much. And the goal is $15,000 to $16,000 to get 50 kids fully sponsored. That's tickets, that's guardians, that's hotels, whole 9 yards. We're going to have the most kids at a conference that we possibly can, and get them involved, because that's so important. We're getting back to videos, so I need to say that, but I keep meaning to get around to that. So we have not made a lot of consistent content over the last 4 months or so, and that's because of the conference. However, we're fixing to kick it up a notch and then some. Everything's going to be upgraded, and as you've kind of noticed, probably, I hope you've noticed, we have a different camera now for this live chat, and I hope the visuals are a little bit better than they have been in the past. Not perfect, but the quality seems to be better, at least on my end. And you can see, well, I look pretty handsome even through that glass. Laurel's fixing to come in here and bust my chops. But yeah, I mean, so the camera quality is better. We're going to try to upgrade some things, but primarily just get back to making videos. We have a long list of things we didn't get around to last year that we're going to get to. And so be prepared for a lot more videos on the way, better videos, and a lot more of them. We're going to have several talks via live chat. Like I said, Cameron Jack. We're also going to have Michael Palmer. Richard Noel is scheduled as well. So we're going to have Richard on from France, talk about some issues that they deal with out there. And I'm excited to talk to Richard. I think that'll be a wonderful talk. And of course, talking to Michael Palmer will be awesome as well. I think that covers most of that stuff. Let's get to questions. All right. Yeah, there's so many people that I didn't mention. Thanks so much for everybody for helping at the conference. No, I guarantee you, Natalie Summers did not frame your picture, Dave. She didn't frame the picture with me either. She was probably using them for smoker fuel, I'd say. You know, she just puts up with me because she feels like her parents force her to, I suppose. No, all joking aside, she was busy the whole time. She totally she sold some t-shirts. People were coming up to her doing interviews left and right. It's hard to believe sometimes that she's actually only 13 years old, because she handles the pressure and the crowd a lot better than I think even I would at 13. And I say that meaning that I've never known a stranger. I'm not a shy person. Never have been a shy person. I wish Allison Krauss would come sing for our band, because if she did, we'd pack that whole place out. Allison Krauss has got an amazing voice, and one of my favorites. John Hill says, with Hillco, just FYI, Kamon, I use your picture to scare the mice away. Well, we have another vendor availability spot just open up. So if anybody knows a good vendor, we definitely could fill that spot up. Hillco just, I don't think they're going to be able to make it now. Yeah, Laurel is awesome. A lot of you got to meet Laurel for sure. That was a nice perk. She's awesome. And definitely puts up. I mean, the conference is a lot of stress. You want to talk? I mean, I got stressed out, not so much at the event, but prior to it. And Laurel just handles the stress, and where a lot of people cave, She just makes it happen. Friday night, we had some issues, and the goal was to take all the speakers out to one place, but one of them went another direction, and I still wanted to pay for their dinner. And so I went one way. Laurel had to go the other way. She doesn't like having to, be away from me, which I totally get that. I mean, come on. But, she dealt with it and was awesome and made sure that people were taken care of. She's just a rock star. Dayton just took Hilco's spot. Well, forget it. Well, I guess we'll take John Hill back. Oh, boy. Will Natalie and Kamon switch the 1-to-1 and 2-to-1 shirts next year since Natalie will be taller? If you know anything about making sugar syrup, nuts and bolts beekeeping, it's based upon density, not about how tall. Okay. So 2-to-1 is more dense than 1-to-1. So unless Natalie starts weighing over 152 pounds, I am going to maintain my 2-to-1 shirt, and she will be in the 1-to-1 shirt, even if she is a little taller than me. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Chris, you're right. Mm. Yeah, sure, Cayman. So thanks, Ricky, for tell your wife again. Thanks for the horizontal hive. I told you not to, but you guys will be seeing that in a video upcoming. I'm going to have actually 2 horizontal hives now in the same spot, and this one was actually hand painted by Ricky's wife, and it's gorgeous. It's got great queens, dead mites, and good nutrition. She hand painted a lot of really neat stuff on there, and I've got to scroll way up. Hey, Jim Ladd, I almost forgot. Thank you so much for your donation. We appreciate you again for donating and supporting what we're doing. And if you have any questions, I'll try to see it below and get to it. Yeah, a lot of folks I'm talking about maybe coming next year. Like I said earlier, I feel fairly confident. I really feel like we would have been over 1,000 people this year were it not for concerns for coronavirus, because we weren't that far off as it was. However, next year, with the more people being aware, I mean, goodness, we're a new conference, and we're gonna have more to offer. We're gonna have some awesome speakers. We're definitely gonna have more awesome, cool bee stuff to see, more displays, just more of everything, more honey show, more, and it's gonna be more fun because we can't get away from the culture that we have, and I don't think we're gonna lose it because it's based upon the people who come. It starts really with the speakers and the personalities. And not that I want them to get a big head, but when Randy McCaffrey, great person. I love being around Randy and his wife. They had a really cool booth as well. And Randy's just a great guy. And then when you have, Bob, awesome guy. Um, Rick Sutton, Bob, a lot. These guys, they've been in beekeeping for decades, and I think they're just excited to see the energy. I know they are. They're so excited to see this energy. They're excited to see this information being shared. They're excited to see people and young people get involved more, and it's just an exciting time. And I think this energy's always been there. It just has not had a place to collect and allow people to be creative. A lot of conferences are really constricting, and we're going to try to avoid that. We want people to come and be creative, and our other speakers as well, just very personable, good people. And so many of our vendors and you all that come, that culture of just good people that actually respect each other, and that's really important. So if you're not one of those type of people, feel free to go to the ABF or something like that. But that's that culture, those people. That's what really makes the Hive Life Conference. We just happen to be the one that talk to people. Hey, Anura's with Pierce Beekeeping Equipment. So he came all the way from California, and it's crazy because I've made so many new friends, but he runs a company out there. It's been around since the 40s. Well, let me look right quick. All right. Double check this here. I've got some of your equipment over here. 47. Yeah. And it's all made in the USA. So, I didn't even know they existed like a year ago. And that's a shame. You guys know me. I'm a hardcore beekeeper. Didn't even know they existed. And so we're going to change that. And a lot of people now know that they do. And I love companies that focus on that American made quality and refuse to do something else. So that was awesome. Hey, Bruce, it's Bees. It's good to finally meet you, buddy. I wish I had more time. We had just a little time where we were sitting down with Bob talking and Greg Burns, and it would have been just a wonderful time if Greg wouldn't have been there. He just always likes to pick on me. He's just one of those tall guys that likes to bully the little guy. I can deal with it. Oh, hey, Jamie. Thanks for that lanternfly honey. I actually mentioned that earlier. Got it right over here. And it is really good. I'm actually surprised on the flavor. When you think of honeydew honey, you typically don't think of something that would be that delicious. But I'm going to actually try a little bit more right here. And just because I can. I don't know how much poundage of honey I've eaten in my life, but a lot. Yeah. To me, that tastes just like honey right there. So I'm sure it has some honey in there, but primarily honeydew honey. And Jamie, if you know anybody or yourself who knows a lot about the situation with that over there, shoot me an email and let's have a discussion about that sometime and learn more because they are moving westward, from what I understand. So we all might be dealing with some honeydew honey in the future, for better or for worse. Mm, it is good. It's good stuff. I would have never thought honeydew honey would actually be something I would enjoy eating. So, okay. Hey, Jennifer. It was good to meet you too. I actually was talking with Randy McCaffrey about you the other day, and sounds like they're planning on some booth expansions next year. So you never know. Might see you over there at their booth next year. They had a killer booth. It was really neat. Hey, Keegan. Thanks so much for watching the videos. We're fixing to really gear it up here in 2022 and just shell out some lots of videos, but primarily focused on quality and um, quantity as well, though. And now that I've kind of got things a little more organized, we're going to be selling off some bees, and we've already sold off some bees. We're going to be focused more on better content and also the experimental yard and doing a better job with that, which, like I mentioned earlier, I will be discussing some of that information with Cameron Jack and comparing results. And I will let you all know when that comes up. I'm hoping that's going to be in the first or second week of January. So be watching out for that. And that would be that'll be awesome. So Stan Gore with the Texas Friendly Beekeepers, was there a link to the company who had the creamed honey machine? So the creamed honey machine is made by Lyson or Leeson, depends on where you're from. And I loved having so much Leeson product there at the conference. Dogwood Ridge had a ton of Lyson. They sold almost everything, which was awesome. There were some nice units there. And he really took a chance. The first year he took a chance on our conference and they came out with, I think they had an 18-gallon bottling tank and they had a little extractor, but they didn't know what to expect with our first conference. And this year I told Dwayne, I'm like, man, we have all these people, hundreds of people coming out. And right now, I just don't know if I can count on Data or Man Lake to show up with any type of extraction equipment. And I mean, let's face it, we all, even if we're not in the market, we want to see the big boy toys. We want to see the stainless steel. We want to see all the extraction stuff. And Dwayne's like, Kamon, I trust you. Anything that you're doing, I want a part of. And man, I really appreciate that of Dogwood Ridge because they brought a killer booth out and had all kinds of expensive license stuff. It was like $25,000 or so, or more, probably more, worth of license stuff. And they didn't know if they were going to sell any of it. They'd never done anything like that in the past, and they sold out, basically. So that was awesome. So that means they're going to bring even as much or better stuff next year, which only means good things for you guys and everybody else, because we can't trust Man Lake or Dadent, or They Don't. That's what we like to call them, to do anything. Yeah, but the Lyson has some cool stuff. I was seeing some posts. I follow Lyson, and they are really focused on innovation. I would prefer to see an American company do that, but I love to see innovation in bee supplies, and Lyson is one of those companies I kind of keep an eye out to see what are they doing next, because they're constantly trying to fix things and make things better for the big beekeeper and the small beekeeper. And there's definitely some room, major room for improvement on extraction for the 200 hive guy and down. Lot of need to go there. All right, man, this thing keeps jumping around. Kamon, I may have missed, but when will you get to the videos as a vendor? I missed all the speakers. Gotcha. So, Ricky, the videos will be available. They're supposed to be made available sometime in February, as per our contract with the DP Videos. Now, when they'll be able to sell, as far as buy from us selling them, I'm not sure. My goal is the end of February. I'm hoping that we can do it even earlier than that, maybe mid-February. But that's something that I'm just now getting back to working on. But they will be made available as soon as possible. And obviously, for people who came to the conference, it's going to be a very low price. Then the people that didn't come, it won't be a crazy high price, but it'll be more than the people that showed up to the conference. And our staff that helped us out, I'm going to be giving them, like the guys that did the honey show. Like Richard was one of our main honey show judges. Richard loves all the speakers, but he agreed this year to help us with the honey show. He was hardly able to see even half, so we'll be sending him one. Los Angeles Honey Company, 1913. Wow. I think Castle High's probably digital download. We may look into DVDs, but then we have to think about shipping and also the extra cost of not only shipping, but then the physical copy. But we may look into doing both. I'm still kind of weighing the options here and looking at prices. Yeah, so maybe DVDs and digital. Who knows? Yeah, DVDs are expensive. Yeah, and that's the thing. So I'm not 100% sure which route we're going to go yet, but we're going to look at a few different options. I think we're looking at 3 different options right now. We're going to see which one makes the most sense for everybody. So as far as things that we're going to be working on for videos this year, the experimental yard is going to be number 1. I didn't get near the videos that I wanted to do this year, and that's going to have to change. We definitely want to make that more available for people to be able to see more of that. So as we warm up a little bit, get back to some more videos, the experimental yard is going to take place this year. I haven't fully decided what we're going to test. Primarily, I want to do formic acid again, but I maybe do some combos this year. I think formic acid with oxalic acid may prove to be great. And then do Apiguard in a different form. We did 2 rounds of 50 grams, which is the typical recommended dose. I prefer in my own operation to do 3 rounds a week apart, whereas they recommend like 2 weeks. That's really not the way I want to do it. And so we're going to compare the data that we got this year from doing their way of doing it to the way that I do it. And I think that'll work better. And then I think we're going to throw Apivar into the mix. Let's see how Apivar does and compare it to the other 2 and see is it working. And I know that Apivar had some serious hiccups in the last couple of years for my operation, for Bob Benny's operation, a few other people. But there are some people that are saying that it's still working for them. So is it a product issue? Is it resistance? I think it's more of a product issue. I know some people who say that they were messing around with how they impregnated the strips and some of the manufacturing. Now, rumors, you just never know, but this guy was a researcher. So I don't think it's probably a rumor, but who knows? Ian's still using it up there in Canada. it may still work pretty good. Excuse me. So one thing that I'm actually wanting to try, Lindsay, speaking of Pierce Beekeeping, is one of their cold knives. That's something that Laurel used for many years, is just a cold knife, no heat running through it, and see how well that one works. I may try one of those later this year. Let's see. Scrolling to the list, trying to keep up with everything. Wow, $5,000 a load for bees right now. Are you serious, Nathan? Man, I want. Is that like just from California to California? Like the almonds from another place in California? Is that like a good haul, like from, say Texas or something like that? Definition 8K. Oh my goodness. Do they even have 8K? Thomas Seven Crows. Hey, Kamon, I'm in Eastern Missouri and I just inherited 45 colonies and a honey business and feeling overwhelmed. Well, Thomas, I say that you probably would. That's a lot for even a beekeeper of a couple years. The main thing I would focus on is just fundamental beekeeping, great queens, dead mites, and good nutrition. You've got to make sure the bees always have a decent bit of food. If you're trying to maintain that many, that's going to be difficult for you. Just even knowing when to do and what is a trick early on, and then having 45 hives to do that too. Keep swarming under control. Make sure the mite loads are down. It's a lot. That's a lot of hives. If you come out of winter with a bunch of those, you may consider selling some. And if you're wanting to be a beekeeper, if you got 40 hives or whatever the number ends up being coming out of winter, or 30, and you're just like, man, this is a lot, it would be more beneficial for you to sell them. I mean, drop it down to 7, 10, 5, somewhere in there, and learn. You can always build back up. If you're good at keeping bees and you can split bees and you can keep the mites low and you keep them fed good and you baby them just like any creature, give them, the care that we give our bees is all about keeping the stress low. Keeping the stress low. And the less the bees are stressed, the better they perform. And so if you can do that, then you can grow from 5 to 15, 15 to 45. You can grow very quickly, but you can lose bees really quickly too. So if you have any, you're like, man, I just can't handle this, sell some stuff off, get some capital, invest that into education if you're serious about actually growing long term. But 45 is a lot to start with. Definitely, but if you're serious about keeping the whole 45, then you need to be getting education and how. So we'll help you as much as we can with our YouTube channel. Also, watch some other guys like Bob Benny and Ian Stepler and several other good. There's so many good guys on YouTube, and watch some videos. Get some good beekeeping books. Walter T. Kelly's How to Keep Bees and Sell Honey, one of my favorites. So lots of stuff to do, but that 45 is a lot. I don't know if Bob had Apivar tested as far as like research for resistance. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I'm not 100% sure. I wasn't around for everything. Bradford Strings Instruments. Well, our budget didn't quite fit Dr. Leo in this year, unfortunately, I suppose. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Yeah, Frederick Dunn was there. It was so fun meeting Frederick Dunn in person for the first time. I talked to him over this before we'd had a live chat together. And Fred is don't be fooled, everybody. The secret is out. Fred is not who you think he is. He does the live chats, and well, in today's video, and let's talk about honey. And he's just really calm and he's really chill and really nice. Everyone's like, oh, he's like Bob Ross, or he's like Mr. Rogers. In person, he will verbally fillet you alive. He is very witty. dry humor, hilarious. Great guy. But you got to watch him because just when you think that he's serious, he's got a little angle going on, and he's hilarious. Great guy. It was so much fun to meet him. Um, I was able to have dinner with him one night and his wife, and that's wonderful as well. I definitely want to spend more time with him in the future, but the plan is to have him back and make sure that he comes back at next year's Hive Life Conference. And now with having double the speakers, that's one thing that I wanted to be able to have this year is like a spot where we could have personalities like Fred and Randy. I would love to have like a little YouTube thing so we could have like Frederick Dunn and guys give a little bit of like a round table chat. And I've even considered maybe having Fred give a talk for you know because he's such a guru for hobby beekeepers and intermediate beekeepers, as we're looking to make sure we have that available for young aspiring beekeepers. I think Fred would probably be a good person for that. So we're looking into multiple different options next year and seeing what is best for everybody. But definitely, hey, Dr. Leo is not a hack. That $90 a pound of honey is very, very reasonable, DP. $90 a pound is totally fair when you have special ponytail honey. Yeah, Fred is unbelievably witty. He's like the total opposite of me as far as his humor goes. It took me a little while to catch up, and it caught a lot of people off guard because a lot of people think that's, they're getting the Fred version of what they get on YouTube. And then they meet him in person. And man, if you don't watch it, he has just encircled you with just several um, jokes that you didn't even see coming. He's a witty guy. Definitely dry, very dry wit. Hmm. What do you think about using the Premier Foundation 9 frames on a single brood management? So I have done 9 frames in single brood management, Brian Reese, and it does work. The only issue I see with it, and I haven't been able to do like major tests side by side comparisons, but I've had very good success running 9 frames, deep frames in a single brood management system alongside some with 10, and it worked. However, in my mind, and of course in yours as well, you realize that there's less space for them to put bee bread and brood and several things. So ideally in a single brood nest, you would have 10 frames, but you totally could do it with 9. I have done it with 9. If you have an extra drawn comb, or if you're drawing some above, and let's say, they're drawing one right above the excluder and they're deeps or something, or if you just have extra drawn deeps, drop down in there whenever you're doing an inspection or something like that and just pull up a frame or something like that. Sometimes you'll find a frame that's really loaded down with bee bread and I pull it above the excluder. Or if I need it for queen rearing, I'll pull that frame of bee bread and then I'll drop an empty comb down below and just get some more room for that queen to lay. But I've done it with 9 frames before. 10's better, but 9's totally doable. And I had some great production out of some 9 frame single brood management, but I'm trying to get back to 10 for that single brood management. Yeah, so Corey Stevens came up for one of the focus group talks where we were talking about varroa mites and resistance and VSH, and he mentions that his VSH are more aggressive towards not so much uncapping brood as much as some of the old VSH. They still have some of that behavior, but it sounds like they're more hygienic in other ways as well. Uh, I'm interested to hear more from him. I know Ian's talked with him a time or two. Bob was a little interested. I just think you have to see it. And then the thing of it is, okay, let's say it actually does work. How long does it last? You have to buy queens from that person, I suppose, every year and hope that they're actually keeping things up. So you still always have to do some follow-up, alcohol washes and things. That's kind of my thoughts on it. But I have never tried Corey's queens. That's the first time I'd met him. And on a whim, I thought, you know what? I've got Bob up there talking some mites. David Peck, who has done a lot of research. He works with Better Bee, but does a lot of research on Varroa and some resistant qualities of bees. And I thought Corey, since he's a VSH breeder and does AI, could maybe shed some light on the other side of the conversation, which that was recorded and will be available to watch later. And of course, I was up there just kind of commenting and asking questions and playing devil's advocate some, which is a lot of fun. But I'm really not sold on either camp. But we got to have these discussions, and more importantly, we have to have the researchers working with the breeders, working with the professional beekeepers, and the regular beekeepers, just to be able to get results. We've got to figure this out. We need more. We need better treatments. We need better bees. We need better and more of it. Yeah, Dave Hansberry, that was the guy. No, I never was able to reach Jim from Vino Farms. So no, he wasn't there. If he'd like to come though, I would like to talk to him about that, and we could have him out there, and that'd be fun. There's a lot of people that we wanted to come out, and some people just weren't comfortable getting out right now with the way the coronavirus stuff is, which is changes by the day. Sounds like things are changing for the better in the UK. Maybe it was hard to tell. Yeah, it's always the country bumpkins that end up making for the most entertaining comments on the roundtable discussions for sure. So what Raisin Hells is alluding to? So there was a part during the roundtable where Rick Sutton, who is a commercial beekeeper, was talking about how they have these apps that you can see where people have bees parked in the general area to try to find bee yards and whatnot, and you can see who's kind of registered if they want to, and so you can put yours in there, so it's got a record that you were there first. So if somebody moves right on top of you, you kind of have a little bit more data and proof, and it can be useful for other things. I'm not really into all that kind of stuff, but long story short, he was showing a picture of like a satellite photo of a bee yard, and Kent and Bob and myself were looking at this, and Kent looked at it and grabbed the mic and said, "See, it's things like that have made it to where I can't do any more nude sunbathing out at my place anymore. Those darn satellites." I'm just like, where did that come from? And if anyone who knew Kent knew that he does not do anything like that. Uh, Kent's a great guy, but a lot of people thought that was pretty funny, myself included. Yeah, Dr. David was really interesting and well spoken. Ian's planning on coming next year, so hopefully that will happen, and that'll be a lot of fun to meet him. Ian, Canadians just they like to play hard to get. Yeah. So does anybody on here use Corey stock? Then I see Bruce talking about that down there. But it would be interesting to see the VSH tried out. Maybe we'll try some of that. It'd be interesting to try. Kamon, I would come next time if I could bring my 5-year-old son who helps me with our hives, but the ticket said no one under 10 years old. He would like to go and see you. Thank you. Email me personally about that one. Going forward, it's really a tricky situation with a lot of these nuances. You would not believe, and I'm not meaning this mean towards anybody or you, but you would not believe all of the odd requests that we get. Hundreds of odd requests and personal requests and favors, and it really is a lot. I mean, it's just insane, and we just can't handle it. I mean, Laurel and I are literally doing all of that. We're looking into maybe hiring somebody to help us handle all the emails because it is just insane. And we want to be able to get back with people, but there's a lot of stuff like that we just weren't able to get to. And we want to be able to cater towards, because I mean, it's not a one size fits all, because like for the sponsorship for kids, we had cut it off, I believe, at 10 years old. I believe it was. I have got to eat some honey. All right. since Raising Hell's on here, we'll use this honey right here. Bottoms up. Whoa. That's some interesting Louisiana honey. That is good. That needs to be in a barbecue sauce right there. Ooh, that's good. But we had like someone reach out and say, well, that's awesome, the sponsorships, but I've got a 9-year-old who is really active. I mean, they're already grafting, all of these things. So we don't have everything set in stone, but at the same time, to a degree, we have to create some type of guidelines. Otherwise, anything goes, and the work created for us is just insurmountable. All right, so Chris Gambrel is using some of Corey's stock. Very pleased so far. All right. Well, maybe I need to talk to Corey and see about getting a few to test out and see how they work. And I can tell you the VSH that I've tried it in yonder years. Now, the last time I purchased VSH was probably, I want to say 7, 8 years ago. And they're not supposed to be like the type Corey has. And those back in those days were really bad about just yanking out brood. Even pupae that didn't seem to have any issues, they would yank them out. And they just didn't perform very well. Not very good honey producers. So Hooterville Honeybee says they have a new spray coming out that mimics the pheromone varroa mites produce. Spray a little on the board. See if your bees uncap them. Going to be a game changer for us queen breeders. So that's, I don't fully understand what you mean by that, but anything that we can use to give us more options, the better. That's for sure. Personal fans. That's funny. Yeah, that honey right there will definitely keep me going for a long time. So scrolling through the questions here. I purchased 10 frame boxes from OK Hat Bee, and they fit well, no issues. Plan to order more before spring. Good review right there. Had some great vendors this year, didn't we? Lots of cool stuff to see. Just awesome stuff. So question, do you offer veteran discounts by any chance? I don't. We at this time we don't have any discounts. Honestly, we try to run it as affordable as possible. And some people might look at 180 and think that's not very affordable. Well, they probably have never put on a conference before. And I'm not saying you're the one saying that time is honey, but oh, that was for Hat Bee Acres. Okay, I do get that question a lot. I've probably had discounts for veterans. I'd say it 24 to 30 times over the conference, for sure. Michael Palmer. So, have you seen Kiara? I'm going to butcher her last name. Waghoiner's talk. I have not seen that, but I would love to. And what is it on, Michael? If you don't mind sharing. So I'm going to see what. Hopefully, we'll see what that is. So inside the Hive TV, that is Humberto Boncristiani, and he's a great guy. Going to be talking with him soon. Yeah, David, I tried to get a fiddle player. Unfortunately, fiddle players are hard to come by, and we weren't able to secure one this year. I had a decent fiddle player that I used to play with, but the guitar player dated the fiddle player, and I told him, you never date fellow musicians. Don't do it. And of course, he botched that one up and ended up marrying somebody else. And, the relationship was torched. And I lost a fantastic fiddle player if I play with a guitar player. And if I play with a fiddle player, I can't get the awesome guitar player. So I was like, ah. Okay, that's the spray for sampling VSH. The problem with VSH testing is not varroa mites. Unhealthy brood odor. Okay. Is there a possibility, either Michael, you could send that video to me so I could share it with everybody, or you could post a link down here, you or Hooterville Honeybee, somebody, because that's interesting information. But yes, this type of stuff is important. And like again, going to Cameron Jack, who will be coming on here in the next couple weeks. We'll be talking to him about oxalic acid. And I believe it was you, Michael, at one point that mentioned that you had used oxalic acid vapor and, kind of when it first came out and just trying to see what it would and would not do. And it just, of course, back in those days, people were saying everything. And some people still are, one time use per week for 3 weeks and you've reduced your mites by 90%. But I tested that, didn't work out for me. And if I remember, you used oxalic acid and tried it in your operation. It was a lot weaker than you thought it was going to be, which I think is what we're finding more and more by the day. Talking to Cameron Jack down there at the University of Florida, they are seeing that, it's a soft treatment. It's a very soft treatment. And I think it has its place, but it definitely is a lot softer than a lot of us originally thought it was. Noah Gaynor, are you starting ramping up for spring? No, not quite yet. We've actually had a pretty cold last several weeks. We've already had 4 snows, which I know for many of you Northerners, but for us in Tennessee, that's like 4 snows more than we usually get. We get excited when we get anything more than 3 inches here. We get like, oh man, 3 inches. Woo! We were getting some snow this year. We've had 9 inches, 8 inches, 6.5 inches, and another one that was like 3 inches. Very unusual. We could get one of those, but to have 4 of them already, and it's not even the end of January, surprising. So, no, not doing a whole lot of gearing up for beekeeping right now. The bees are, really, I'm just coming off the conference stuff. The conference has kept me so busy. Yeah, so Michael mentioned down there, just OAV didn't work for me either. Dribble might be good late fall cleanup, and that's basically what I've concluded with oxalic acid vapor is unless the colony is broodless, and it really doesn't do a whole lot. If there's a lot of brood in there, it is so much labor for what little it gets you, and that's why it's kind of laughable, when they talk about legalizing it, in my opinion, for oxalic acid vapor to be used when honey supers are on, because it's like, yay, we have access to something that really doesn't do us a whole lot of good. And who has time during the honey flow to treat with oxalic acid vapor? And why are your mites already that high? You should have cleaned them up long before the honey flow. And you're probably not going to get near as good of a honey flow if your mites are so high they need to be treated during it. I just don't like anything about that, really, just because it doesn't seem very helpful and useful. But oxalic acid vapor, for myself, I use it twice in December when the bees are broodless. And I know Bob Benny, I had a couple of people like, why are you doing it twice? Just one time in winter when they're broodless will get you a 90% kill. Well, nothing's ever that easy. It seems like if we say it's something, it's not. And what we have found with the research we did this year is that it was less than 85% effective when the bees were broodless, when we caged the queens and we came back and we did 2 grams per deep brood box. It was lower than 85% effective on the average of the entire 12 colonies in that section of the experiment. Talking to Cameron Jack, he was not surprised by that information that I gave him, which leads me to believe, in wintertime, if you're going to use oxalic acid vapor, then 2 times would be recommended. And Bob Benny uses it 3 times. So it's a soft treatment. It's very gentle on the bees, but it's also a little more gentle on the mites than we would like. Yeah, Bob talked a little bit about the test that he did with Jennifer Berry at the University of Georgia on the oxalic acid slow release, the strips that they use from South America, and it was not good. He's waiting really to release more information on that, but spoiler alert, the strips with the oxalic acid release from, I believe it was Argentina, just did not do the job they needed to do, at least in this trial. Hey, Mike Hill, thanks for being a part. I'm glad you came on, and thanks for the feedback. 80 in Texas last week. Now it's in the 40s. Ooh, well, I think we had a low of 12 degrees last night, which for us is very cold. Did someone ever post a link to anything? Need a fiddle player and a guitar player? Contact the Presley girls in North Carolina. Well, I'll have to see a link and watch some stuff. I'm really picky about my bluegrass, but if they're a killer, then yeah, we could look at that. Air Force. Okay, I've missed something. It's hard to keep up with all these comments. It's great. So Michael says we're going to be able to use the UBO spray in May breeding program. That's going to be awesome. That is awesome. Okay, so Chris is sending it to me, Don. Fantastic. Okay, so Tristan says Michael Palmer also posted the info on Facebook, Project Apis M. Unhealthy brood odor. Actually, someone had sent me something, I think, in an email a while back on that. And we were in the middle of the conference, and I opened it up, and I didn't even watch it. But yeah, I think I've heard something about that now. But regardless, that's exciting. And hopefully that really opens up some doors for better breeding and better selection of bees. Yeah, conferences do have an insane amount of little fees that add up. Quite a few, and there was a lot of them they cropped on us the last few minutes, and that's kind of why I'm reluctant to go to another venue anytime soon, is I actually know the craziness I'm going to have to deal with this venue for next year. So I know what's coming. Michael Palmer, you poor dear, so cold. Negative 19 last night. Well, that's about 40 degrees too cold for most Tennesseans, I'd say. Yeah, negative 19. That's cold. Actually, one of my plans, Michael, is to one day go up to Vermont for vacation during the winter. I love snow. I love skiing. I'm sure I would be so sore if I did that now. It's been so many years. When you ski at 15 and 18, it's a little bit different. I'm sure I can still do it, but man, I'm sure I'd be so sore I could probably hardly walk the next day. But I love it. I love ice skating, all that stuff. And I definitely love maple syrup, which I have some of it right here. This is actually from Wisconsin, which I was told was better than Vermont maple syrup. But I don't know. I'll have to go up to Vermont and try that sometime. I hear they have like even maple flavored ice cream, which just sounds amazing. Yeah, no fall flow really in our general area. So mentioning getting back real quick to just a little bit more on the conference front, and then I'll get back to some more questions. Next year, again, we're looking for more speakers. I'm going to have 2 rooms going at once. I have had a lot of mixed feelings about this because one of the things that I think makes our conference different, excuse me, and has worked really good for us is the fact that we have had really good speakers. They're practical speakers, nuts and bolts. That's what we aim for as a primary focus. Researchers are great. We need people to figure out stuff like these sprays for detecting brood odor or anything like that, whatever it is. However, as beekeepers, we need to learn from those who are successful now so that we can be successful. And the more of us that are successful, the more money actually stays in the industry, more people buy product, then that more money can be sent to the universities for research. So it's all about community and connection, and it starts at the bottom. Hobby beekeepers, I think, affect all of us. I think some of us don't think that, but if we can take them from the hobby level into a successful hobby area of sustainability, I think that's important. we're fixing to hit, I believe, a bonanza time period in beekeeping because the price of honey has gone up. Also, information and education is going up. And so that means a lot more folks buying equipment. That means commercial beekeepers are selling their droves of honey and investing into buying more product as well. So I personally think that we're fixing to hit a wave of success and good things for beekeepers, especially for those who are selling bees and queens and all that kind of stuff and honey. So that's exciting. But guys, yeah, our conference, we're looking for guys and girls that are useful, practical. I mean, that's all. And I'm sure there's a lot of hidden gems out there. It wasn't that long ago, and nobody knew hardly who Bob Benny was. Nobody. Now he's a rock star. It's kind of like Michael Palmer. He's like one of those guys, just like whoo, way up there. So those are the kind of guys we'd like to hear from. And Michael's definitely on the list of people we'd like to have at the conference. And there's a lot of variables right now to contend with. But Michael's always welcome at our conference or our live chats or anything. He's done a lot for beekeepers, especially, you would think it'd be just mostly northern beekeepers, but I digress. There's a lot of beekeepers in Tennessee that have adopted a lot of Michael Palmer's strategies down here, several of them. And I'm not talking guys with 5 hives. Well, some of these guys are running a few hundred because it works. But it also works for guys with a few hives. So that's the kind of stuff we need. And I remember when I was making the transition years ago into being a more responsible beekeeper and less of a bee haver, looking at guys like Michael and Randy Oliver who were getting it done and were sharing what they were doing, which helped out a ton. Really made a big difference. So we're all about that. We do want to get some researchers too, but really the ones that are really killing it, have some useful information. So that all to say, we're going to have probably between 12 and 14 speakers next year. I know some people just want the one room format, but I think we need diversity. I don't want to have like what some of these conferences do and have like 4 rooms going at once or 5 rooms going at once. It's too much. And you usually end up with some people that probably should not be talking, and they have 20 people in the room, and I just don't want to fool with that. Quality over quantity. So I think we're going to stick to the 2 room format, and I don't really see going past that. I don't. But I definitely want to hear from you all on speakers that you think would be good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rick Sutton said you missed a perfect score by 4 points on your light honey. That's pretty high praise from Rick, though. I mean, the guy knows his honey. Yeah, Dry Cut Homestead. I reached out to the company that makes the lifts that we use. There's also a couple other companies that make beekeeping lifters. Now that we've had a good bit of success and I've got pictures to show people and videos, and they're like, okay, whoa, this is a place that I would like to have my product at. I feel very confident in saying that borrowing something crazy going on, we're going to have an insane amount of stuff as far as vendors go. We already had a killer vendor show this year. We're gonna grow like crazy though, and we're gonna have a lot more options and hopefully a lot more deals. And we had great deals this year, and just keep going for bigger and better. And it comes down to finding ways. It's not all just about the size again. It's about the quality. So if it takes away from the quality of the event, like going for a 100% Chinese company that's selling a bunch of garbage, no, they're not going to be at our conference. I actually had a couple of them reach out, just selling a bunch of knickknacks and garbage, and even some that were selling, Chinese sourced lumber boxes. Why in the world do we have to go to China to get lumber? It's insane to me. It's insane. Our government has sold us out. That's all I've got to say about that. And I'll move forward. But we're definitely not going that route. Yeah, Easy Loader. So the Easy Loader guy backed out on me. The Canadian, folks keep changing the border stuff because they apparently can't figure stuff out. And so like 1 week it's this, 1 week it's that. And last minute they changed it. So he could make it through. And we did have multiple Canadians that did come to the conference. However, Easy Loader backed out due to some of the cost, I believe, associated with it. At least that was what I heard. But Easy Loader did tell me they are planning to be there next year. Ian's planning to be here next year. There's a couple other Canadian companies that are going to be here next year. I want to say a big thank you to Tom Nolan with Formic Pro and Might Away Quick Strips coming all the way from Canada and representing. He went out to the ABF first and left somebody there to man the booth there, and then flew out from Las Vegas to our conference and set up, and it was awesome. I've talked to Tom multiple times, though. He's a great guy. I love Tom Nolan. And hey, Steinthal Valley Honey, thank you so much again for donating to our channel. You have been a big part of supporting us over the years, getting ahead of myself. And thanks so much again. If you have any questions, hit me with it. Yeah, no Chinese wood for me. I mean, of course, I live in rural Tennessee. I mean, I literally could close my eyes and throw a rock as hard as I could in any direction, and I'm going to hit a tree. No question. There's trees all over the place. We have plenty of wood. You go down to Alabama, there's plenty of pine trees. There's no excuse for it. There's no good reason for it. Canada's still on lockdown, huh? Weird. We never even locked down here in Tennessee. Hey, Bill Henson. Good to see you. How are you still liking that lift, Bill? You got you and I use the same type of lift, I believe. You got the B3, if I remember right. We had some great woodenware companies. Hilco had some stuff, and Dogwood makes some stuff. I know Dogwood makes their own, and Miller Bee Supply makes their own. I think some of the companies, I don't know all the details, but the two companies I do know for sure that make their own stuff, and I'm sure several of the other companies do as well, is Dogwood Ridge and Miller Bee Supply. So I love that. Someone was asking a little earlier about the inventors corner. We only had about 3 submissions to that. There was not a lot of stuff there this year. I'm hoping that will increase. We'll definitely be pushing that a lot more. I think what we may do, and this year we just didn't have the budget for it, but we may offer a prize of maybe a couple $100 or something like that for first place, and it'll be voted by the people that attend. That's kind of what I've been thinking about. Do an inventor's corner. People can show off their inventions or adaptions on already made products, and then just have a box and people can vote in there, maybe just at our booth, and say, this is what we liked. We thought this was the coolest invention of the show. And we have somebody count that up, and whoever gets the most votes from the public wins the prize. Maybe that'll inspire more people to bring stuff. But I also think, we didn't advertise that. We didn't advertise the Honey Show really well until late in the year. People now have a full year to plan and prepare. So everything's going to be quite cool and quite big. Okay. Okay, I missed something. You'd hit me, Kamon. What's that? Okay, working good. Yeah, I'd cut my own first too, Caleb. Yeah, it's not only America here, it's Tennessee here, ET's bees. Yeah, we rebels. Jordan Peterson from Canada came down and did a presentation in Nashville. And he actually put that on his YouTube video on how surprised he was that everything in Nashville was almost like normal. So the Inventors Corner is a place that we're going to have at our conference every year. And if you invent a new product, if it's an adaptation, say it's like a lid, but you've created something new about the lid, or you've adapted some piece of equipment or hardware, whatever. If it's new, and whether you're trying, maybe you've created a new product to sell. Obviously, you can't sell things there; it's just for show. But there's a corner where people can set up stuff and just show folks, hey, this is what I've created. This is what I'm going to start selling, or I'm maybe doing a crowdfunding, whatever. I don't care. Or maybe it's just some, guy that's into carpentry and he thinks this is cool and it's an idea that he likes to share, or something, a girl, does, or whatever that, she thinks would be a new way of doing this or that, whatever. Doesn't matter. Something new and creative in beekeeping. That's what the Inventor Corner is about. Set it up, show it off. And I'm thinking next year, have people vote on it. First place wins some cash, or maybe just a free trip back next year. I don't know. Is cypress better than pine for a beehive? I would tend to say that it is. Keep in mind, though, cypress a lot of times is young growth. Cypress, it's not slow growth, old growth, and it's still, I think, better than pine. But some of the stuff that you'll read online, it's not quite as rot resistant as what you'll read. It's just kind of like cedar. If you go for the core cedar wood, the purple that we have here, that stuff is so rot resistant, it's incredible. But the white stuff on the outside isn't. So there's some variables there, but I would definitely choose cypress over pine if the prices were the same. What kind of wax do you use for dipping your boxes? Asked Steinthal Valley. So what we use is 50-50, one part microcrystalline wax, and then the other part is paraffin. We want good quality stuff. It has to have a nice rating as far as the melting point. We don't want something that's a low quality paraffin. Um, so we want something that's going to work really good. I believe mine combined has a melting point of 160 something, 163, 168, somewhere in that general area. And that's important. That's why you can't use beeswax, because it just melts too easily and it'll seep out of the wood. And why we use the combination of the paraffin with the microcrystalline, which any of you who purchase boxes from Appalachian Hivery, I taught that guy how to dip boxes. So it is done exactly the way that I did mine. And it is the same ratio, same everything. And that microcrystalline on the atomic scale is multi-chained, so it does not want to pull out of the box. Whereas regular paraffin is single chained and will want to come out of the box in the wood a lot more. So that's why I use a little bit of both of them, kind of lock them in. Horizontal bees, you're saying 1,800 next year as far as people coming. Ricky, did you how many of those horizontal hives did you bring, and did you end up selling the majority of those? And thanks again for the hive that you gave for us to experiment with. Excuse me, Caleb Stephen. Yes, I did. I'm actually going to be releasing some of the data with Cameron Jack, who is a PhD out of Florida, and he's actually going to be sharing his research on oxalic acid. So I'm going to be doing that side by side, and I am working on getting all that. I'm going to have it in a paper form so you guys can print it off, look at it online. The conference is the primary reason why I have not had that out already, and also learning how to do all this stuff properly. It's my first time doing some testing, and I want to make sure that I do it right. Man, this thing jumps around on me. Yeah, those we got those ribbons for the honey show. They were made by Hodges. It's a company that's started, I believe, over 100 years ago in the United States, and they're still made 100% here in the United States. I love them. Yeah, we pay probably 3 times, 4 times as much for those ribbons. But I mean, if I'm getting a ribbon for my American made honey, I want an American-made ribbon. And we want people to be proud of, the honey show, and we're going to grow it. And I think it's going to become more of a not only a national, but there'll be international honeys entered in the future. So, I mean, we want it to be a quality show, and we want quality ribbons. I think that just makes sense. But yeah, those are made by Hodges. So if you ever need any ribbon needs, I would go there. Don't don't go for the cheap stuff. Hey Darian, so the backward beekeeper is on, and he came to our conference. Darian is sorry if I messed this up. You're 14, 15, somewhere around there. He keeps bees up north, and it was nice to have him at our conference. He's got a YouTube channel. Might think about considering going and checking that out and supporting Darian. So best place to buy dipping wax. So there's several places you can do it. In the past, I purchased mine from candlemaking.com, which is also known as Aztec, candlemaking.com. Hmm. No, no. Okay, so we'll cut it off. I mean, if you guys are talking about how many people are going to show up, then that's way. We can't support that many people. I'm thinking realistically. I mean, just think about if we have 3 rooms going, just the line of communication I have to have with people to make sure we have 2 people speaking at the right times, that we keep things on track. People are being informed what's happening when. The speakers get water when they need water. Just all the logistics of the whole 9 yards. And many of you saw me running around. It's going to be quite a challenge. One I'm looking forward to run a conference that large. And I do think there's a possibility of 1,500. I think there's a decent chance of that. But a few things are going to have to come together for that to be possible. And I'm not sure I want to push it that far. Realistically, Laura and I have talked, and probably around 1,200 is probably where we're going to cap it. But if we can get things in place and do a good job and feel comfortable, we may cap it at 1,500 or something like that. But there's going to be a lot of people there. I'm confident of that. If we can get upwards of 1,000 during the way things are in the world right now, I feel very confident we can do past that. We didn't have, a lot of to show. I mean, when people were looking at our conference, typing the Hive Life Conference, they're like, we've never heard of this. Where's the pictures? Where's the stuff? What's going on? And how do I sign in? Now we have a website. There's a plethora of YouTube videos, and there's going to be a lot more cool stuff. And now the vendors know what to do. So vendors will be telling people that they're coming this year. The advertising is going to be, and already has been, through the roof. So that's good. That means we are going to be able to grow significantly. For those of you who came to our first conference, we had 225 people, 3 primary vendors. This year we had like 35 vendors, very close to that, 34, something like that. And like one of the biggest vendor that we had was nearly as big as all the vendors that we had put together last year. So we grew a lot in that regard. 4,950 people in 2023. I don't know about that. Yeah, that copper hive is pretty cool. I appreciate that, Ricky. I appreciate that. You're really too generous. Hey, Justin Wallace, I haven't posted the survey for the conference yet. I do have it printed up as far as in a printable form. So it is almost on the way, but we are going to be placing that into a survey that you all can do online. So we don't have to mail something to you. You don't have to mail something back. We're going to put it, now that I've got it all kind of the way I want it, we're just going to get it to where you guys can fill it out online and submit it, so we can hear what topics you want to hear next year, what VIPs you want to hear from next year, what vendors and what products you want to see next year, what's some creative stuff. Let's go over this again real quick. So like the artificial insemination display for queens that Shabu Raj had, and the active lysine creamer that was going on. We want to have some stuff like that. They're not really vendors because they're really not selling a lot. The guy with the creamed honey did. But we want to see you guys or somebody who's willing to just display stuff, some cool stuff that showcases a neat part of beekeeping. So we want that as well. So keep in mind to suggest that and think of that throughout the year. Wow, so many comments. Thank you. If you're going to cap the attendees, please let us know soon so I can buy my tickets now. Probably what we're going to do, Bohemia Bees, is we're going to send out a mass email to everybody who came last year and give them probably a 3 weeks or something head start. Give them a shot to sign up first. This year we're probably going to start signups. I'd say sometime around July, and we just have we didn't get the website up until December, so there's just a lot of things. We are going through so many growing pains. It's not even funny. But when you grow this fast, I mean, the only other option would be to stifle the growth and say, no, we're not going to grow this fast, and we're just going to take it, and it's going to be a slow, easy, slow growth. But that's not the way I like to do things. I'm a beekeeper. I don't get in and just buy 2 packages and say, okay, I'm good. I'm one of those guys. And I get, you start off maybe tiny the first year, and the next thing you know, you got 40 hives. You can't justify it, but you do it. You find a way to buy it anyways. What happened to the signature hive of the conference? Greg Burns, are you still on here? He's the one that did that, I believe. 3D printing, Honey House Homestead. If you had something cool beekeeping related to 3D print, we could talk about that. Thanks, everybody. It's still a bit of a surreal feeling that we actually pulled the conference off. It's one thing to go through all the nuance and like trying to call this vendor up and, hey, can you come to our conference? Hey, I really need you to bring some extractors because a lot of people are coming. We want to make sure that we show them a good time and have stuff available, and kind of doing all kinds of phone calls and so many emails. I hate emails. It's not that don't send me emails. It's just I hate typing. I hate it. And so but you have to. And we just went through all that stuff. And by the time we got to the conference, it felt like it was never going to get here. And then all of a sudden, the day before, Thursday, we walk into the room, and it's just a huge room. And just like magic, the vendors started showing up, and booths started going up fast. And we unfurled that American flag behind the stage, and it just started to feel real. And then, of course, the snowstorm, we just didn't know what to expect with that, and nobody did. Were a lot of people going to stay home and say, I'm not going to risk it? And we didn't really blame anybody who did or anything like that, but you just don't know. Is it going to be 100 people? Is it going to be 50? Is it going to be 300 people? You don't know. And Friday morning when I opened the doors and saw many of you come through, it was just like, wow, this is going to be a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun. My only regret is that it was only 2 days. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, Laurel's giggler is fixed. Laurel lost her voice from just talking so much, but she's like, how in the world do you talk so much and not lose your voice? The only thing I can kind of rationalize is that's like what I do, is run my mouth. And everyone vouches for that. There's no denying it. So it's probably the biggest muscle group in my body is my voice box. And so it's just used to taking the abuse, but Laurel is very quiet. And whenever she talks, it's definitely worth listening to. But I think it's because she had to interact so much by the end of for us was the third day, because all day Thursday was crazy. And then, of course, Friday and Saturday. And she lost her voice, and she sounded like she had been chain smoking for like 30 years. It was really husky. She's going to come in here and beat me. But yeah, her voice is 100%. She's fine. I just think it's because she doesn't use it that much. Maybe someone's talk about approaches to info sharing and marketing from farmer markets to local beekeeping groups to use to. Oh, the time lapse finally just got to you, did it? Yeah. Well, of course you don't smoke, but I'm just saying, I'm just using it to relate to. Mm-hmm. Does that mean dinner's off? Man. Oh yeah, that's right. She's like, "What are you talking about dinner? We've all of us have already eaten." Oh my goodness, funny stuff. Hmm. Yeah, it was just so much talking going on, so much networking, and that's the exciting thing. So any of you who were like there at the first conference, there were so many relationships built from the first Hive Life conference, and it's for me, since I'm kind of connected to a lot of it, I get to see a lot more of it. But there's several relationships that people meet at the conference, and whoa, they start beekeeping together, or they become bee buddies, and the next year they come and they sit at the same table. And sometimes it's vendors that end up forming a relationship. But there's so many hundreds of relationships that are built over this, and the creativity and the opportunities created from a conference like this. That's the exciting thing about it, is the networking, and it's exciting to see companies like Premier Foundation that came out and brought a semi load of product and had a great price for all the people that came. And then on top of that, they, rumor has it, there's really not much rumor at all, they sold another semi load worth of product at the conference too that they are shipping out later. So almost two semi loads of product at our conference. And, Jeff and then they're pretty excited about that. I'd say you'd have to be. And that's important. Why is that important? Because if people are buying boxes from this company over in Illinois, known as Hilco, if they're buying it from Miller Bee Supply or Ohio and Hat Bee Acres, or if they're buying it from West Alabama Bee Supply or Bees Needs, and they're buying Foundation from Premier, they're buying Lysin extractors, they're buying Hilco extractors, or they're buying Jed Thorns extractors, which will be available in the near future, and more, USA made, and so many other things. Do you hear who I'm not mentioning in this? Man Lake. I'm not mentioning Dayton. And all of a sudden, things start, we're chipping away at them little by little. And they're going to either have to wake up and start taking better care of us, or go the way of the dodo. And I think it could happen. Kamon deserves spam for dinner. That is uncalled for. I would just assume go without dinner. No way. Spam is not on the menu. Spam and eggs. Ah, man, that is not. That's like my great grandpa's, what he loved. Spam and eggs, bologna, all that stuff. Sauce. Ugh. Hmm. You got an, yeah. Laurel actually was you got that interview with Laurel. I was surprised you got it, Jason. So good for you. Hey Taylor boys, thanks for hanging on. So as long as you did. Oh, okay. Honey House Homestead. So you got an Apame hive and a hive butler. All right. Well, and the hive butler being made in the U.S. and Pierce being made in the U.S. and Apame is actually made in Turkey. However, which I know you know that, Turkey is got a serious beekeeping culture over there, and the plastic actually comes from the United States. They ship, and that's part of the reason why there's been a shortage on Apame hives and the price went up, is because of that winter storm that went down and hit Texas. Texas produces so much food grade and high quality plastic. And since it knocked all that out with that winter storm, Turkey couldn't get the plastic pellets that they needed to form the molds to make Apame equipment. So that's supply and demand issues were there. But so, even though Apame stuff is molded over there, it's actually USA plastic, which is awesome. Spam and eggs. Mm. Yeah, World War II MRE, exactly. Well, that generation back in those days, they appreciated things. So they most of them took food in any form that they could get it. I know my great grandfather was like that. He was a cool guy. He served in the Navy in World War II. Spam and honey is delicious. Okay, we are getting, okay. This is getting a little out of control here. So West Alabama had Premier Foundation in their frame. So I find this interesting as well. So talking about relationships, Rossman is going to be carrying Premier Foundation. I know several companies like Apame, sounds like they're going to start doing Premier Foundation. A lot of companies are starting to do Premier Foundation. A lot of the middle-sized and smaller companies are doing Premier Foundation. So that's great. And Acorn's a great foundation too. I really don't want anybody to watch my videos and think, man, Kamon's just totally endorsing this company. I'm trying to do not endorse, but give recommendations. Okay. The reason I like Premier is not necessarily just because their foundation's good, but also I know Jeff and I know Matthew and the guys that work there, and I believe in them. I believe that they're going to take care of you. And, that's half of what you want when you deal with the companies. You want service. And I also hate seeing money sent to companies that don't care at all about us. Now, Acorn, I've used them for years, and they have a really good foundation. However, the reason I got into using Acorn was because of it was better. And Nick was a great guy that sold Acorn for years. Well, he just retired. So now it sounds like the business is sold and somebody else is over it. It's all the way in California. But Acorn makes great foundation too. And if you, I'm one of those guys though. I'm telling you, if I need 1,000 sheets of foundation and there's a killer deal on Purico or something like that, I'm going to go for the Purico. You gotta look out for yourself too at the same time. So just because I do a video with some of these guys doesn't mean necessarily that that's the only product I'll ever use. Okay, but I do love Jeff and Matthew with Premier just because they're really good people, and I like working with good people. Michael Palmer, oh yeah. Yeah, Fred did a wonderful video on that. And see, I did a little bit of homework, but I didn't do all the homework. I had access to Right Cell Foundation, and I counted Right Cell Man Lake Foundation versus Premier, and there indeed was a big difference between the two. However, there's not a big difference between Acorn and Premier. Um, so honestly, I think both of those are in my opinion, are the two best foundations on the market. The molds are better. Acorn has better molds than Right Cell or Peerco. I think Premier has wonderful molds as well. Both of them do a really good job, and Acorn and Premier both focus on putting a thicker coat than the other guys do too. So when I get something for like a double waxed Acorn, or I get even the regular Premier, I don't re-wax them. There's no need to. If your bees won't draw that out, it's just because they're not ready to draw foundations out. Definitely a lot thicker than the Right Cell that I've used in the past. Yeah, Steph posing as me, hilarious. Okay, so Nick has decided not to retire, at least for another season. Well, I tell you, I guess I need to call Nick up if I can get him on the phone. So I heard from like 4 different sources that he was retiring, but it must have been just kind of like Michael Jordan or one of those guys retiring. Just kind of not just keep coming back. Add some wax to the foundations. Well, it sounds like the Nick from Acorn is still staying for a little while longer. So that's good. Nick definitely built that company into what it was, and it grew fast, and it was built on customer service. And I just don't understand these companies that just don't get that. I just don't get it. It's not just about the product, it's also about the customer service. And that's why I like the conference format is people can actually, with a lot of these companies, like if you buy from most of these companies, you find out that you can meet the owners, especially the mid-sized, small-sized guys. So that's really great to be able to get to talk to them and talk about issues. When you have an issue, you know who to talk to. At Man Lake, I've had issues, and I've gone up, see, 1, 2, 3 rungs up the ladder, and I wasn't even sniffing close to the top of the people that actually need it, that could make the change that needed to be done. So right now, what we're looking for next year's speakers, I'll just go ahead and kind of give a little sneak peek at that. So Chris Warner with Indian Summer Farms. He's a commercial queen breeder, produces very good queens. No, he does not have any available anytime soon. He mentioned that to me. He's like, just make sure everybody knows that we stay booked solid like years in advance. But that's what happens when you produce a good queen. You will be booked up indefinitely. That's why it's so hard to get good queens from good suppliers. And so if there's a company that always seems to have queens available, it's a little suspect on their quality. Maybe not always the case. So Chris Warner, we're going to have Bob Benny back mic'd up in a big way in a quiet room. We're going to have, I'm talking right now to, some of the interviews that I'm going to do are going to kind of be trial runs to see if we can get somebody like Cameron Jack. Depending on how the interview goes and his availability, we'll see if maybe he's something, because we want someone that's a very good communicator. And I think he's a good communicator for sure. Is his information helpful and useful? That's the question. And obviously, I think it's helpful and useful, but we only have so many slots, so we're trying to focus on what people like. That's where you guys getting on and answering the survey on what topics you want to hear the most about. That's why we need feedback from you guys. I hope Michael Palmer will be able to do it. I would really like that very much. I've been trying to get a hold of Paul Kelly for a while from the University of Guelph. I think he would be awesome to have. I've emailed him. I've called. I'm going to just keep emailing him until somebody finally gives up. That's my philosophy in life. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, but I think Paul Kelly would be a fun person to meet. And also, he's had some good videos. It's obvious he's a good teacher and speaker. So I think that he could really be a great presenter for us and just be a fun personality to get to meet. I know a lot of you love Paul Kelly's videos with the University of Guelph, and they do a great job up there. Spend more money on billy strings and open bar would be pretty cool. First of all, the venue will not do any type of alcohol inside the venue, so I'm going to squash that one right now. And then as far as billy strings goes, I have an idea what his price tag is, and I'm open to serious donations at this point if we're talking billy strings. And if I'm being honest here, billy strings isn't really the type of bluegrass that I personally enjoy to listen to. But it's not all about me either. But it's a little off the new grass end for me. But hey, that's why we have different types of music. Oh yeah, well, so the reason I'm Thomas for the slow mode on and off is due to all the problems that we've had in the past with spammers and spam bots, and they'll come in and post about just junk and garbage, and since it's a bot, it just bump, 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 and within a minute they could post many dozens of times, and we all get exposed to garbage, and Laurel can't keep up with that. So if we have that slow down mode, which I believe is on 7 seconds or 10 seconds, it gives Laurel time to see those and block those and ban them from the conversation. So that's why that's there. So ET's Bees came in. What does it take to get into the Inventor's Corner? Send me an email. Right now would not be a good time just because it's so far to the next conference. But so yeah, sometime between now and then, so, just say this is what basically I'm wanting to show. And as long as it's a new product and you're not knocking off somebody else's, there's no legality issues. And yeah, just basically show it off. The only issues is you can't sell. You're feel free to advertise as far as if you want to have, a handout, brochure, business card. I don't care, but you know, the Inventor's Corner is free for anybody to jump into. And we want to have a bunch of stuff like that, but also you can't sell stuff, or otherwise you turn into a vendor. Okay, so Nick was indeed retiring. He must have gotten cold feet. Yeah, who knows? I have no clue. I'm sure Nick knows what's going on, but I'm sure whatever it is, it'll be good. Yeah, Chris Warner, he keeps his, well, I guess he was originally from Wisconsin, but they do keep bees down in Florida too. Florida, Wisconsin and Florida. It goes back and forth. Yeah, you're right. Hmm. Yeah, Thomas. It's just something that we started implementing recently with the slowdown, just to help with everything on Laurel's end, moderating, and just primarily spam bots. We used to have some issue with people just posting some of the nastiest stuff, and so it's easier to deal with the peons. Just keep it low and slow, everybody. Zach from Hawaii. So, my buddy Zach, I actually talked to him about maybe talking and coming out and talking about his queen rearing operation in Hawaii. The problem with Zach is, as he's my age, and people my age, they're a pain to deal with. I actually I said this, I believe, at the conference. I hate dealing with 20-year-olds, and I do. It seems like every person I dealt with at a hotel, and I had terrible hotel problems. 4 different hotels, 4 different issues, all of them my age or lower. I can't stand young people. I sound older by the day. I have people like, you sound like an old guy. Well, old guys are smart. Anyways, so Zach could come, but the problem is he's raising queens. I mean, the big dollar queens. He's got a huge bunch of queens going on right now, and he needs to be there to sell those prime queens for people making splits early in the year in California and places like that. So I'm not sure if he's going to be willing to leave the queen rearing operation unless I drop some massive coin. Yeah. For sure. Well, I mean, 20 and 30-year-olds a lot of times don't appreciate things. And my parents made sure I appreciated things by not giving me everything and make me work for stuff. And I still there was still that teenage period and early 20-year-old period where I was definitely more entitled than I should have been. And I still don't have it all figured out. I will very openly admit that. However, I remember one of the best parts of my life, segueing here a little off of beekeeping, but my dad got laid off when I was around 15. And that was right at the time I was getting into beekeeping. And I was a heavy gardener and was selling produce at that time, and feeding the family with it to a small degree. It wasn't very, very good at it, but I was trying to raise chickens. And my dad got laid off, and I was also really into bluegrass at that time. I say 15. No, I was 16. And it was like that for like 2.5 years. And my dad eventually got his job back. But looking back on that, that's one of my favorite time periods growing up. We were very close as a family. We had to cut our own fire. We went to from burning gas to burning firewood, and I love doing that. I love wood smoke. I love wood heat. And we had to eat at home more. We didn't eat out as much. We had things were tougher, and we appreciated things a lot more. I really look back at that as an awesome learning experience for me and a fun time. And some of it wasn't fun though. I remember my dad was doing odd jobs, just trying to do anything he could to make money, and I ended up helping him remove toilets and doing plumbing jobs. And of course, being shorter and smaller than my dad, my dad's a bigger guy, not real big, but I think 5'11", and I think 220 pounds is probably what it was at that time. So a lot bigger than me. So who do you think gets to go in the crawl space on these plumbing jobs, right? Send the kid. Hopefully he'll come back out. And but that was such a great learning experience for me. And I never forgot that. And I wonder, would I be the same without that? And I don't think I would, because I wasn't able to get a lot of the nice stuff that other kids were. I think that was really good for me. Ooh, Bohemia Bees. What about an area displaying historical beekeeping items, old smokers, equipment, tools, stuff for beekeeping junkies? Yeah, old bee journal magazines, all kinds of stuff like that. That would be pretty darn cool. I love that. Somebody needs to put in a killer beekeeping museum, just like a killer one. That would be awesome. Hey, Trails and Farms. Thanks so much, Randy. We'll see you in the future. Well, Ron, I would like to be 20 again too, just for the fact that you bounce at 20. And I'm still, I know, very young. I get it. But if the difference between 13 and 20 is any indication of what it's like going forward, this is going to stink. Because I remember doing stuff at 20 and hitting the ground and just like back up. And man, I threw my back out twice this year. And I never did that at 20. And I couldn't even tie my shoelaces for a couple days. Yeah, hotels were just ridiculous, Castle Hives. It was just insane. Well, and they just don't care. It's that's really what it all came down to is I had an issue, and you could just tell they wish I would have gone away. Wow, why is this guy here? And I feel it's weird for me because I feel like I'm 40 years older than them because I'm having to get upset and say, "Hey, do your job," or "Let me talk to your manager." I'm 33. I shouldn't have to be doing that. And they're basically in my same age group. And they're like, well, I can't find you here. I'm like, I have 8 rooms booked here for my staff. I know we're on here. I've even got paper confirmation. Well, I can't find anything. Oh, here it is. We booked you for the wrong days. And can you do anything about that? Oh, so you want me to change them? Well, yeah. It's just stuff like that. And they don't want to help you. It's all really comes down to personality. Oh, and you can't smack anybody these days without going to jail or getting a big fine, so you have to keep your temper and rein. And I was the hotels pushed me. Bob, we get there and Bob's checks into the hotel. Frederick Dunn checks in the hotel. Randy shows up and he checks into the hotel. I'm the one that books all their rooms. And then I get up there and like, oh, we don't have your room on file. I'm like, how? I booked with them. I did this all at one time. Oh, well, we got theirs and we got your card, but we don't have you. I was like, are you serious? And then I made sure to tell them that I pay for everything for those guys in their hotel rooms and stuff. And then they charged Bob for everything. So, I had to pay Bob, that money, which was fine, but that's their job. There were so many little things like that cropped up, and that was part of the reason why I didn't have time for anybody at the conference, because I was juggling these little things that other people should have taken care of. Yeah. Hmm. So, Don, is Natalie gearing up for a big year, YouTube wise and stuff? I know she's got 4,000 subscribers now, which is really exciting. Natalie's 13. If you watch her videos, 4,000 subscribers. Speaking of young people that just have it all handed to them, no, Natalie is not like that at all. That's one of the reasons why I've liked doing stuff with her in the past. She really appreciates stuff and smart. Yeah, Brian Reese, you're exactly right. You're volunteered. I'm totally kidding, but yeah, we've got some people that are going to be handling that next year. Almost all the young women I graduated high school with a couple of years ago are flying around on broomsticks right now. Oh boy. I like to see if Richard Noel could talk about going from sideline to commercial. He also deals with Asian hornets. So Honey House Homestead, he actually is coming on. Be on the lookout, everybody. Richard Noel will be joining me on a live chat, and we will actually be talking Asian hornets because he's on the front lines right now. So that's going to be a fun topic. So if you have any questions for him, be sure to bring them. That same goes for Cameron Jack. If you have any oxalic acid questions, perfect time to ask them. You can send them to me on an email or just ask them in the live chat and we'll try to get to them. Yeah, it really is. Oh, okay. So if Natalie's on, she hasn't commented yet. She's probably just rolling her eyes at me. That's all right. Or counting how many times I make mistakes, which is probably pretty high tonight. That's good though. She needs to see the mistakes that I'm making so she doesn't repeat them. When you're 33 and trying to correct verbal habits that are poor, it's hard to correct because you have decades of poor habits. But she's only 13, you know. She starts off doing it the right way, she'll be phenomenal. Already really good. Oh, she did comment. I think you missed them when the comments were flying by. Yeah, probably so. Yeah, Bob is loaded. But Bob has spent 40 something years. Bob is a smart businessman. And he definitely is a hard worker too. I think some people might look at Bob and his easygoing. I can't do it. And Cayman, he's a little different from me. He's got a lot of energy. But Bob, he's laid back like that, but he totally is not laid back as far as in his heart of hearts. He is so tenacious and just passionate about growing the business and keeping bees and all that. He really burns the candle at both ends. So his soft spoken ways does not portray his tenacious spirit when it comes to business. He's awesome. Yeah, Bob's a stud, is what he is. He kills it. Uh-oh. Whew. Well, guys, we have a lot coming up. I think I need to call it. Laurel said to call it about an hour and a half in. Here we are, 2 hours and 47 minutes. But I just wanted to talk to you guys about the conference. It was a lot of fun. So many of you guys were there. It was awesome. And because of that, what's going to come next year is going to be better. We are going to try to grow, I'm not talking about people wise, but just in cool things tenfold again, just all kinds of stuff. So I need your help to make that possible. And any creative thing that you think would be cool just for show and tell or a new vendor or anything like that, great speakers, great topics, let me know because we're interested. A lot of our best ideas were not my ideas. They were ideas that were fed to me from somebody else, from their experiences. So we want that. And it was just a total blast and totally worth all the effort. It literally took 4 months of my year last year, without question, 4 months easily, but it was worth it. And we're excited to do it again. Be on the lookout because we're going to be doing live chats. It's going to be a monthly event. My plan is to have a live chat going forward every third Saturday. And we may and probably will do some in between those, but we're going to have one 7 p.m. Central Time, third Saturday of the month. And it'll either be me, but a lot of times I'm going to be interviewing people now. And we're going to find people of interest. And whether it's a small beekeeper with something to share or a researcher or whoever, we want to hear it. So lots of cool topics and get this information out because some of the stuff that Cameron Jack, doggone it. He was sharing with me on oxalic acid. I'm like, this is stuff people need to know. And we need to know it now. We don't need to know it 3 years from now. So we can know it now, apply it, get better, and then move on to the next thing so we can grow at a fast rate as a community of beekeepers instead of just an individual or two that's in on the know. So Thanks, everybody. Look forward to those live chats, and we'll see you in videos. We're going to get back to videos. So start expecting, like the videos of old where we were shelling them out. We've got a lot of cool stuff on the way. So thanks you so much. We'll see you next time.